Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the Prince of Sound and had elemental bending? Huge shout out to hyotonuzumaki for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Far outside the Leaf Village. Kusahime, I still don't understand why it's necessary to return here after all it's taken from me and Teo-chan, a red-headed masked Kunoichi said, tree-hopping through the forest to Konoha with her leader and creator of the new village Odo. The tall pale beauty sighed, brushing a hand through her soft black hair as her hazel eyes peered over to her company wearing a black battle dress with a deep neck showing her ample cleavage. Come now Kushi-chan, wouldn't you at least like to see the grave of your son and husband? It's been 3 years since I know I would like to see my dearly departed future husband while we work on an alliance with Konoha. She nodded before looking down. Wait, what's that? Looking down, Kusahime saw what Yuzu was talking about, seeing a 3-year-old boy run from a group of jounin with a large scroll on his back, but what had them surprised was because he shared a strong resemblance to Yuzu's daughter, save for the rectangular whisker marks and the black streaks in his hair. What's going on down there, Kushi? You told me Naruto-chan died in the attack, didn't you? Kusahime asked, getting a positive. With Naruto? Oh no. These guys just don't quit. Naruto thought, running out the gates of the village beaten and bloody as his red hair was dyed a deeper crimson from the gash on his scalp with a large scroll on his person. He was running from an attack as he had every year on his birth due to containing the 9 tails until a serious attack where Kyuubi sacrificed himself to save him, making him the new Kyuubi. He ran to the Hokage's office, where he was hoping to survive the day when he found a secret compartment hiding Naruto's heritage. His mother was Kushina Uzumaki, the daughter of Madara Uchiha, and his father was Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage and the son of Tobirama Senju. He was outraged by the Hokage, the man he once saw as a grandfather, and despised the village save for the few who genuinely cared. Using the limited knowledge he had, he packed everything he had in seals and ran out the village. After all, they didn't want him, might as well give them what they asked for and leave, showing them just what he's capable of in the future. He was sure he had made a good escape until he heard the screams of the jounin chasing him. Skidding to a halt, he ducked under a flying kunai while pulling one from his pocket, slicing it across the first jounin's throat, killing him before jumping, forming several seals as a jounin came close. Kain. Gakakyu no Jutsu, fire style. Fireball jutsu, he said, shooting a large black fireball at the enemy, completely incinerating him before replacing himself with a log. You know, I don't quite understand. You want me gone, so when I try to leave you just try to bring me back and kill all over again. What's the big idea? Naruto said, getting a grunt as he leaned back, head-butting a jounin. Because a demon like you doesn't deserve to live. A jounin said, getting an eye roll before he got a kunai to the heart. Well, to make sure you don't have to deal with me anymore, let me part ways with you and leave a bit of a present, Naruto said before his eyes shifted, turning black completely before 6 red rings formed with several gray tomo that formed a gray 6-pointed star as that spun as they were engulfed in black flames. Burned by the goddess of the sun's fury, Naruto said before the strain of using his eyes caused him to pass out. Above. It seems he handled himself quite nicely, although how he could use a Sharingan ability so easily makes me curious, Kusa said, jumping down to Naruto to see him unconscious as Yuzu followed, removing her mask showing his mother before she picked him up, burying her face in his neck, crying, believing her only son had died that fateful night. Oh my little Naruto, what did they do to you? She said, rocking back and forth, getting a pat on the back, seeing Kusahime having the scroll on her back standing. Let's go Kushina, I've had a change in desire. If my sensei is going to do something as deplorable as let his ninja beat a child or kill one of their own, then we don't need their dirty reputation ruining our new village, Kusahime said, sneering in the direction of Konoha, getting a nod as they dashed back to Konoha. Odo Hospital. So Kabuto-kun, can you tell me what all Konoha has done to Naruto-kun? Kusa asked her student, getting a sigh as the silver-haired youth adjusting his glasses. Kusa-sama, to be blunt, which is the only way I can say this, he's been beaten and abused and scared in several places, one noticeably on his back, which is shaped like a fox. He also appears to be malnourished since the moment I checked him. You could see his ribs. Whatever else Kyuubi or whatever happened caused the more serious injuries to heal, he said, with a bit of sweat from the murderous glare Kusahime had. Shall I get Kushina-san then? He asked, getting a nod as he walked out, brushing her hand through his hair, staring at him. Is that my Nai-chan, Ka-chan? She heard, turning to see little Taiya wearing black shorts and shirt with black sandals, while she had a skull cap on her head with her mother wearing the same thing. That's him Tei-chan, that's your big brother Naruto-kun, she said sitting next to his bed with Tei sat on the bed staring at him. Why does Nai-chan look like me? She asked getting a smile. You're twin siblings with him being the older sibling, he was born first while you were born a half a minute later, Kushina explained getting a nod. I hope he'll like me, she said getting a hug from her mother and a pat on the head from Kusahime. Oh don't worry sweetie, I'm sure he will. Now let's go, he needs to rest and we need to get a room set up for him at the compound, Kusahime said, getting a nod from them as they got up. So I have a family although Kabuto-san you can come out now, he said quietly before he heard. Looking to the corner he saw the same boy come out of the room from the shadows as he smiled adjusting his glasses, so you knew I was here. Naruto nodded removing an illusion over himself, showing his ears were actually fox-like standing on top of his head with 9 tails poking from the edge of the blanket. Let's just say my senses are better than most, Naruto said getting a nod. Well Naruto-kun you will able to leave tomorrow afternoon so rest. And welcome to Odo, he said getting a smile as the silver-haired boy leave. Closing his eyes he smiled before going back to sleep. 6-year overview. The 6 past years Naruto spent his new life in Odo with his beloved mother, sister and future fiancé Kusahime. To him it was paradise. He didn't have to keep a kunai in his pocket walking down the street thinking someone would try to kill him or under his pillow as he slept. He loved his life although he did miss the few who held a truly special place in his heart in that village. Although he wished Kushina, Tei and Kusahime stopped sneaking into his bed when he slept, although a part of him enjoyed it with waking up with his head between a pair of breasts and feeling his sister hold him. Due to them being part of several clans he had to uphold the Kra to help in the repopulation of said clans with the assistance of several women, his mother, sister and Kusahime, and 3 others he became close to included as they said they've fallen for him. Over the years he revealed to the others about his life in Konoha and his abilities. It was discovered he had the use of the final form of the sage's fabled Rinnegan known as the Sharingan, a taijutsu that acted with the abilities of all 3 legendary taijutsu, granting him powerful connections to every affinity. When he revealed this he alongside his sister were trained by Odo's finest shinobi, as well as Kushina and Kusahime. Through their training they grew to that of a S-class ninja, mastering several forms of the shinobi arts taking place in Kusahime's NOTE unit alongside their mother, as well as the placement of the curse mark in the desire to protect those important to them. Odakage's office. So we're going with you to be your guards for a Kage summit meeting? Naruto asked standing in front of Kusahime's desk wearing the standard NOTE unit attire, as well as his sister and mother. Black Anbu-styled pants with camouflage leg warmers and arm warmers with Anbu leg and arm guards, a black turtleneck sweater with the Anbu chest plate. On Naruto he had a ceramic fox mask at his hip with 2 swords on his waist, consisting of a long Dadachi in a black sheath and a long Chikudo with a purple jewel at the end of the hilt. His eyes that were royal purple had an amused glint to them when they were open, as he was dubbed the Kitsune Oniyari, grinning fox, in the bingo book as an S-rank ninja of Odo, with his spiky red and black hair reaching his back in a ponytail. His sister and mother standing next to him wearing the same attire except Kushina wore a black mask with a red whirlpool on it, while Teiya had an Oni mask, both of which were also S-rank. Yes Naruto-kun, it seems sensei has decided that since your body was never found, he sees that in logic you would be in some village, with their actions, I doubt any village wants an alliance with them, and we're still hashing out alliances between Kumo, Kiri and Suna, and a few minor villages, Kusa said standing from her desk. It was a common fact that once Odo had meetings with the other villages, the Leaf's actions towards Naruto spread like wildfire, causing the village to be shown in a less than favorable light as missions became scarce not wanting help from child abusers. When do we leave and which villages are meeting in the first place that requires it to be held at Tetsu no Kuni? Naruto asked crossing his arms curious since the last few meetings they attended were usually in one of the Kage's villages. We're leaving in a couple of hours and won't return for a while, so pack for a month minimum. As for the who, it will be a meeting orchestrated by Konoha with Suna, Kiri, us, Kumo and Iwa participating, she said sighing. So expect Konoha to try something underhanded. Naruto said as more of a point than a question, getting a nod. Be at the east gate in 3 hours, she said as they nodded, disappearing in different flashes, Kushina's being red, Teiya's being grey and Naruto being black. Sighing she thought grabbing her supplies, maybe the stress is what caused Tsunade-chan to drink. Path to Tetsu no Kuni. Ugh, I hate the cold, Teiya said getting a pat on the back as the 4 marched to Iron Mountain. Look on the bright side, Ni-chan, Naruto said with his eyes closed, getting a scowl from his sister. And what would that be, shithead kun? She said with a huff as Kushina and Kusahime watched. The meeting could always be in Suna. We both know how much you hate the dry weather there, he said, making her freeze before muttering, catching up as the two placed their masks on following Kushina and Kusahim. You sensed them too. Kushina said, walking through the halls to the meeting room, getting nods. I count 10 coming from Konoha's direction. Should I have my clones dispatch them, Kusahim-sama? Naruto asked, getting a hesitant nod. Kushina will handle it. I feel he brought them with him in case someone refuses to tell him what he wants to know, she said, getting a nod from him as Kushina vanished as they stood before two massive double doors. Standing outside the door, Kusahim said, you two ready? The twins looked at her as the air around them said annoyance, with Naruto saying, as ready as an animal about to be put down. She laughed softly while Taiya hit her brother behind the head, saying, ah, get over it, shithead, we gotta be serious here. Nodding, he calmed himself, standing straight as the air around him changed, showing he wasn't a kid at the moment, but a professional killer, as Taiya did the same as the three walked through the massive doors. Inside meeting chambers. Where is this guy? We've been waiting for half an hour. The yondaime Reikage of Kumo said impatiently as his two guards Yujito Nai and Killer B stood behind him, who were the Jinchuriki of the 2 and 8 tails respectively. Calm down, you overgrown bodybuilder, you know how far that village is from there to here, the Mizukage mate Terumi said as her russet red hair reached her lower back with a bang coming over her teal-green eye, wearing a blue battle dress with her two guards Ao and Chiguro. I agree, getting agitated over something so simple isn't befitting a Kage, the yondaime Kazukiage said with his two guards standing behind him. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage with his guard Inu, stood nearby next to Inoki, the Sandaime Tsuchikage with his two guards, with the man handling the meeting was Mifune. Calm down all of you, they should be here any minute now, Mifune said when the doors opened, showing Kusahim wearing her usual attire with her black hair reaching her lower back as her hazel eyes were highlighted with black eyeshadow and purple lipstick, with her guards following her. Sorry we're late, that's the downside with how far we are, the distance it takes others is further away than your villages, Kusahim said, sitting in her seat removing her hat which was black with a white kanji for sound, with Naruto and Taiya standing behind her, while the two were looking out of the corner of their eye at the Leaf group. Now that we are all gathered, we can begin. Would anyone like to take the stand and start? Mifune said as Sarutobi coughed into his hand. If it's fine with you, Mifune-san, I would like to ask why my student is here when she is a S-class missing ninja. He said as Kakashi was about to attack, with Naruto and Taiya blocking his path with a clone of both standing at his sides holding a sword to a vital point that were sure kill. That is enough. Sarutobi, reign in your ninja or leave. Now as for why Kusahim-sama is here, she had a lot to offer in terms of trade and resources that got the agreement of not only the daimyo of Hot Spring Country permitted the villages forming, but gained trades from us and several minor villages in Iowa, as well as absolved all her crimes, Mifune said as Kitsune and Oni sheathed their weapons before standing back next to their cage-like statues. Fine, but why are children here? He asked, getting a sigh from her. First, sensei, if you have a question, then say it to me and not at me like I'm some kind of mentally challenged infant. Second, they're here because these under my Anbu Captain Kuroi Yuzu are Odo's strongest shinobi, and they're only 9 years old, she said, getting a growl from the aged man. They're children. They should be enjoying their lives, playing, not taking lives so soon. He said, getting an uninterested look from the three, although Naruto and Taiya's were unheard. And that's where we differ, sensei. I offered Kitsune-kun and Oni-chan 2 choices when they were 3. The first being I and my village's best ninja train them in the ninja arts then, or they go through the academy and are trained that way. They chose the first and grew tremendously to where Kitsune-kun, when he's older, will be given my position of Odakage, she said with a smile, getting wide eyes as she looked over at Mifune before nodding. These are the records of missions they've completed under my training, she said as the room went dark before a holographic screen appeared in the middle of the table. Kitsune no Niari. Age? 9. Gender? Male. Rank? Anbu. Status? S rank. Ninjutsu? High Kage. Ninjutsu? High Kage. Gyuinjutsu? Seal Master. Dijutsu? High Kage. Genjutsu? Low Kage. Irekyuru Akuma. Age? 9. Gender? Female. Rank? Anbu. Status? S rank. Genjutsu? Low Kage. Ninjutsu? High Kage. Gyuinjutsu? Seal Mistress. Dijutsu? High Kage. Genjutsu? High Kage. Combined mission total. B rank. 0, C rank. 37, B rank. 54, A rank. 28, S rank. 32. The lights cut back on as Kusahime said, as you can see sensei, where you and I differ is as great as night and day. You babysit your ninja while spoiling your civilians as they walk all over you. Coughing into his hand, Mifune said, we're getting off track. Hokage-sama, did you have anything serious to discuss or no? Nodding, he leaned forward, cupping his hands together, saying, as of 6 years ago one of our people went missing with something important and feel he's within one of your villages. You mean you're missing Jinchuriki that your civilians and ninja chased out? Said, getting a flinch from the aged Kage. That's nothing new, Sarutobi. We all know that your ninja have actively tried to kill the kid on numerous occasions and as a result have cost you on missions coming into the village, the Reikage said, getting nods from the village leaders. Coughing into his hand, he said, yes, well, I want to know if anyone has seen Naruto-kun. It was in the Yondame's request that he be safe as I let my guard down for a moment. Inoki snorted, saying, must have been a long moment, Sarutobi, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of the boy. And as a Kage you should have a tighter leash on your village. I know if it were your sensei or other the first who heard their ninja were hunting and trying to kill children, they would have been executed, ninja or no. Besides, all we know is the boy's name. What he looks like could have changed over the 6 years. Why so quick to speak, Inoki? Hiruzen said, getting a shrug. Unlike your village, I partially respected the Uzumaki clan at the time. They were a serious contender, and to hear that you let your village, the village his clan assisted in forming, the clan symbol your populace have the gall to wear, well, doing such is deplorable, he said, getting nods from the others before he saw the black streaks in Kitsune's hair. If you don't mind my asking, Kusahime, would you mind telling me who the boy is exactly? His hairstyle is familiar, he said, getting a shrug. Now why would I do that, sensei? Isn't that the purpose behind the masks? To hide one's identity. I won't deny I meet the boy once upon a time, but he left the village after my medics healed some of his serious injuries, she said, pushing her arms under her breast with a coy smile. Well, Mifune-sama, since this meeting has gone on for so long with us getting nowhere, may I ask that we leave, as this was just a waste of everyone's valuable time? Mei said, getting nods from the other Kage, while Sarutobi glared. He nodded, I agree, Mizuki-sama, and I do apologize for wasting your time with this folly of a meeting. This meeting is at a close. As the other Kage walked out the room, Kusahime whispered quietly to the Hokage, and sensei, next time I suggest you don't break any more rules like you did today. You'd keep more ninja that way. Wide-eyed, he turned to her as they walked out before he growled with Inu standing next to him, what do you think, Hokage-sama? Do you think one of them know if the Giving a glare, he flinched before correcting himself, if the boy is in one of their villages. We may be able to sneak into one of their villages, take him and leave. The glare grew harsher, I'd watch my step if I were you, Kakashi. I ordered you to watch over Naruto, and you failed, knowing he was Minato and Kushina's son, and even lied to Kushina saying he died. You screwed up and should be grateful I didn't have you executed with many of the ninja and civilians who joined in the attacks. Betting a huff you're no better, Sandaime-sama. You put seals on the only people who ensured he stayed and made laws preventing him from knowing companionship without suffering punishment, which caused him to leave the village. If anyone is at fault, it's yourself and your prized student, especially if he returns knowing all we've done, we and the ninja, in favor of the things you've caused by interfering in clan affairs, which not even you're allowed to do. Before he could say anything, the dog-masked ninja walked away, getting a glare from his leader, thinking while walking away, I can only pray he's wrong. It was through Jiraiya's insistence that we ensure loyalty into Naruto to make him loyal to the Leaf, and his insistence that we put seals on those three to make sure he is loyal to no one but the village and the Kage, with the hiding of his heritage so he doesn't become too powerful. From the shadows, Kabuto appeared, frowning, thinking, so it's as Naruto-kun said about them doing something to those 3 older girls. I just hope he didn't do anything to those 2 or Naruto-kun just razed the village to the ground if they did. Falling back into the shadows, the room was rendered empty. Road to Odo. So Yuzu-chan, were they difficult for you? Kusahime asked as Yuzu appeared next to her in a whirlpool shunshin with not even a scratch on her. Not in the slightest, although that could be because they were too incredibly slow for my taste, she said, getting a pat on the back. What about on your end? She asked, getting a huff. We feel Sarutobi may know Kitsune-kun is shithead-kun, Taiya said, getting a groan from the older Reed. And there's more to it than that, they heard, turning to see Kabuto come from behind a tree. Kabuto? What are you doing here and what do you mean? Kusahime asked, curious, getting a snort. I am Odo's spy master, Kusahime-sama. And when Naruto-kun told us about the village's actions towards those girls, he had Jiraiya place seals on them to change them or alter how they acted compared to how they originally have, as well as placed laws preventing the women who love him from pursuing him, he said, getting a snarl from Naruto, whose killer intent spiked before it subdued. I can speak to them when I leave to Konoha for my cover, and I can check on those two other girls you spoke of, maybe I can get them to join Odo if I try hard enough, he said, getting a nod from Kusahime. That's good, Kabuto. The Chunin exams are in 3 years. You have that long to gain their trust and remove the seals that influenced those girls, but for now let's go back. Those mission won't complete themselves, and neither will that mountain of paperwork, she said, getting a nod from them as they made their way back to Odo. 1 year later. You want us to what? Taiya asked, checking her ears trying to see if she and her brother heard their Kage correctly, while Kushina was just as curious. I want you both to turn in your masks and attend the academy for the last 2 years. Sarutobi may have beliefs that you are Kitsune, and we've run across many close calls with his Anbu in my country, and I've made it clear to have his ninja returned in body bags if I catch them snooping in my village or within my country's borders again, she said, getting a nod from the two since they had been the ones killing them. So we're going to the academy and then what, attend the Chunin exams? Naruto said, getting a nod. That's right, and I already have your team set up along with your Jounin. Kabuto sent me a message saying he's made contact with those girls, and thanks to those seals you created, removed Sarutobi's control over them. We just need the final linchpin to secure our move, she said in a calculative manner. Oh man. Please tell me they're good. Taiya asked, getting a nod from her, handing them the papers. Here's your team and their skills, which are just as good as you two, she said as the three looked over the papers. Oh, we got Karen-chan, Kin-chan and Kushi-hime, Naruto said, making Kushina come over to see the paper. Well, it took a bit of doing, as you know. You're both easily S-rank with Kage level skills or just scratching it in a field. Either way, your team is the perfect setup, with Karen and Kin being skilled in interrogation, medicine and 2 of the village's best sensors, she provided, getting nods from the 3 of them. So tomorrow head to the academy, but for now you two are on leave, she said, getting a sigh from the 2 before nodding as they placed their masks on the desk. So do either of you two know what you're going to do for the time being? She asked, getting a contemplative look from Taiya, while Naruto had the same fox-like look as usual. Maybe I'll hang out with the goons for a bit. Maybe see Kagura. She just got out of the hospital from Kabuto's surgery, so I'll go see how she's doing, Taiya said, getting a nod. Get out of my Anbu clothes and get in some Saivis. I'll probably get a few Z's after I go see Kagura-chan as well. I've been busy with missions, so maybe she could use some company, he said, getting a snort. Yeah, company, Taiya said, getting a hug from behind. Aw, don't worry Taiyu-chan, your Nai-chan can keep all of you company too, he said with a grin, making the 3 blush seeing the look in his royal purple eye partially open. Shut up. She said, stomping out, making him frown before he turned to the others with a fox-like grin. Oh, I think I made Taiyu-chan mad, he said with his grin still in place before he kissed them both on the lips before disappearing in a flash. Am I the only one who can't wait till he becomes an official ninja? Kushina asked, getting a negative. No, Kushina-chan. No, you're not, she said as she let Kushina leave while getting her clones to focus on the paperwork. Odo Hospital. I still say you could use some real civilian clothes, Taiya said, wearing a pair of tattered jean shorts with stockings and a black shirt and boots, looking over at her brother as they walked to their friend's room. What's with you and everyone else talking about my sense of clothing style? I just like to dress comfy, Naruto said, wearing an oversized black shirt with long sleeves and black jeans with sneakers. Because you dress like you have no sense. You're a damn fine handsome man, and you're throwing that away by dressing like some bum. She said in a huff, getting a shrug. Well, guess what, mister, when Kagura is feeling better we're taking you to get some real clothes, just us girls, whether you like it or not, she said with a dark grin, making him gulp as she smiled the rest of the way as they heard a commotion going on in Kagura's room. Kagura's hospital room. An irritated sigh left her the supple lips of a pale teen with short white hair as her teal-green eyes held a flicker of annoyance. Because in front of her were Odo's 2 annoyances, Aku Abumi and Dosu Kanuta. The 2 have been hounding her since she was Chunin at the age of 12, being a couple years ahead of them. What do you want? She said, annoyed, trying to read her book since she finished the operation due to her failing health, which with the help of her Kage and Kabuto, she was given a clean bill of health. Due to her having a calcium deficiency, she had to drink milk on a regular basis, which she had a mini fridge stocked full of 2%. We want you to go out with us when you're better, Zaku said, getting a snort from her, obviously seeing they were eyeing her B-cup breast. I'd rather not, seeing as neither of you are my type, she said, going back to her book before it was taken from her. And why? Because you're holding out for that red-haired loser. He's weak and he's not even in the academy, why go after him when you could be with two men, Zaku said, getting an uninterested look from her. She was about to say something before they heard, "If I were you too, I'd accept her answer, gentlemen," and walk away. They turned to see Naruto and Taiya leaning against the door, while Naruto reached his kunai holster holding his tri-pronged kunai, while Taiya was reaching for her flute. "And why should we listen to a word you say when we could make her see how good we are?" Dosu said, getting shoved against the wall with Naruto opening one eye which was red with a slit causing killer intent to wash over the room. "Because foolish ninja, she is my mate, not yours. Second, if you attempted to do such I would kill you both, since this village's reputation doesn't need to be sullied by you ilk. Now I suggest you leave, and if I see you anywhere near Kagura-chan or causing trouble, I will deal with you," he said, getting a nod from the two as they ran from the hospital. Snorting, Taiya said, leaning against the wall, "Those two, I swear they talk some tough shit, but they act pretty fucking weak." "It's to be expected, Yaya-chan, the smallest dogs bark loudest, it's what they do," he said, getting a shrug from his fellow redhead as he sat on the side of the bed with Kagura. "Thanks, Naruto-kun, but you didn't have to bother with them. I could handle myself," Kagura said with a ting of pink dusting her cheeks as her teal eyes darted to the side. "I'm more than happy to help you, Kagura-hime, you are my mate after all. So how do you feeling after the operation? Everything alright?" he asked. "I should be back on active duty in a couple weeks, but I'll be able to leave the hospital tomorrow. They said I could train so long as it was nothing taxing, while also drinking a lot of milk which lead to me being here," she said, getting a grin from Taiya. "Hey Kagura, tell my bonehead brother that he needs a new sense of fashion for civilian clothes, maybe his shinobi clothes too," Taiya said, getting frown from her brother while she stuck her tongue out at him. "I don't dress that badly, what do you have against my clothes?" he said in a huff, getting a shrug. "Same as I said before, you're too damn good looking to dress like some bum who wears whatever they find. Kagura, don't you agree with me when I say what he's wearing doesn't do him justice?" she said as Kagura checked him out, getting a nod making him drop his head. "She's right, Naruto-kun, you could dress better, that showed off how you good you look. And what did you intend on wearing as a shinobi, and aren't you too on Anbu?" she asked, getting a negative as they filled her in. "But for my clothes I'd come up with something, maybe my Anbu uniform," he said, getting a flat look from the two. "My choice doesn't impress you?" he asked rhetorically, getting a shake of the head from both of them. "No, it does not, Naruto-kun," Kagura said, making him drop his head again. "Do you know what time you'll be getting out?" Taiya asked, drinking bottled water she brought with her, getting a shrug. "The doctor said he'd be back in a bit to let me know the specifics," she said as another doctor came in holding a clipboard wearing an Odo headband on his arm. "Well Kagura, I'm happy to say you'll be free to leave tomorrow morning bright and early, but we would like for you to come back in a couple weeks for a checkup to see if anything happens," he said, looking up seeing Naruto and Taiya. "Oh sorry Naruto-sama, Taiya-sama, I didn't notice you there," he said, getting a shake of the head. "It's no problem, but it's good to hear she can leave tomorrow. Anything else we should know?" Naruto asked as the doctor looked on his paper. "Well, besides no rough training for at least 2 weeks. Besides that, she should get some exercise, even if it's just walking around Odo or doing a light warm-up. She also needs to rest and not do anything too vigorous. Can you two look after her?" he asked, getting a nod from the twins. "No problem, she already lives with us, so I see no reason why we couldn't, and we can get a light workout for her since we're going shopping tomorrow. My shithead of a brother dresses like a bum," Taiya said, getting a groan from him. "Bite me," Naruto said with a grin as she did just that, biting his ear while using her tongue to flick it sensually, making him pull away with a light blush as the doctor chuckled. "Ah, young love reminds me of me and my wife when we were your age. Well, I'll leave the three of you alone, and Kagura, we need you to stay safe. You can train, but we need you to relax, don't overwork yourself, lift some weights, do some light exercise, nothing too harsh," he said, getting a nod from her. "Will do, sir," she said, making him smile before walking out. "Well, that's convenient, now the girls can get this shithead some proper clothes," Taiya said, getting an eye twitch from her brother, making her grin. "You also forget that we attend our first day at the academy tomorrow, Onihime, so you, me, Kin and Karen won't be getting out until 1," he said, getting a growl from her. "Ah, shut up. Anyways, you are getting a new set of clothes tomorrow, Baka," she said, getting a defeated look from her twin, which Kagura found cute with his fox-like expression. There Naruto-kun, we'll make sure that when we go shopping, it won't be too torturous," she said, causing his head to drop, whimpering, since his girls always enjoyed shopping a little too much. Staring at his mates, the three continued to watch each other before conceding, which they celebrated as he sighed with a smile. Odakage's office. "So it's finally time to go back." Naruto said standing in front of Kusahame's desk wearing a grey sleeveless kimono top with black anbu-styled pants with red tape at the ankle and a sleeveless black trench coat with neon blue flames licking the bottom and the hood pulled up over his head with black shinobi sandals. On his arms he wore a pair of elbow-length black fingerless gloves with red studded belts wrapped around his arms. For his equipment he carried 4 sets of kunai holsters fitted with seals to hold a larger amount on his legs, 2 large pouches on both hips that were also fitted with seals to hold more for shuriken, explosive notes, and various tags with several inches with wire and other goods he used. On his hips were 2 medium-sized scrolls that contained his 2 swords and various long-range and short-range weapons. Yes, Naruto-kun, I know you don't want to return there, but this is to get the girls to come here. Although I'm unsure if you giving Kabuto-kun the right to add your real stats to his ninja info cards, Kusahime said, slightly worried about the backlash. Oh, don't worry, Haim, besides if they try anything or get the daimyo involved, I got my own little ace in the hole that can change things, Naruto said with a grin. Well. If you're sure, Naruto-kun, then me and Kushi will see you at the finals, Naruto-kun, and if you can do that to them, then that would be great, and if sensei does anything to cause problems, then retaliate by any means, she said, getting a nod from the others as Taiya, Kin, Karen and Kushina left her office. Do you think it is wise to allow Naruto-kun to use his and Taiya's real information in the exams? Kagura asked, wearing an open kimono top that had a strapless black bra showing and anbu-styled pants. Waving her hand in a dismissive manner, Kusahime said, I wouldn't be worried after all. Me and many of the best shinobi in Kunoichi and Odo had a hand in training Naruto-kun. If anyone should be worried, it's Konoha trying to get him back under their thumb. She nodded, saying, I suppose you have a point, Otokage-sama, although I just can't help but worry. Oh, don't worry, our little fox will be just fine, Kusahime said with a chuckle as she turned to her office window, seeing the group of redeeds walk through the gate. Just fine indeed, Kusahime said before turning to her desk, seeing the stack of paperwork pile up again, making her eye twitch before creating a shadow clone to handle the paperwork. Konoha Council Chambers. This is an outrage. Why allow that demon back? Have him killed. Were the roars that echoed through the council chambers in the Hidden Leaf Village before they were silenced by his killer intent, allowing him to sigh in irritation. We haven't much choice, seeing as Konoha needs missions after hearing of our abuse of a child. Even our own daimyo is close to cutting his ties and leave us to fend for ourselves against the wolves. But this is a chance to get not only our weapon back, but also the Forbidden Scroll and 2 more Uzumaki to join the village if we play our cards right, he said, getting a suspicious look from everyone. Oh yes, like how you played your last hand trying to keep our weapon bound by our rules, Danzo said, getting a glare from Sarutobi. Better a free will Jinchuriki than an emotionless weapon that doesn't obey my command, and should I remind you, it was you and my advisors with the backing of some snot-nosed civilians with no knowledge of the sealing arts to expose his status, making his loyalty waver, instead of following your beloved Yondame's wish like you all claim you care for him, instead of foolishly doing as you did without knowing what could happen, Sarutobi barked, making the civilians flinch back. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? One fat civilian stated. What I mean, you ignorant fool, is that if you pushed the boy too far, you could have made the seal break that held the Kyuubi, and he was the only Uzumaki the village had, with Minato being the only seal master capable of performing the sealing. Sarutobi said, getting a snort from his rival. Excluding the 2 Uzumaki you had, your student and Minato's student lied as saying he died making her leave when we could have drugged Kushina and bred more Uzumakis and have the 2 children trained to be perfect soldiers, Danzo said, getting an exasperated sigh. Right, anyways, that was then, this is now, and he and his team will be coming for the Chunin exams. Given the chance, I'll have my Anbu catch and detain them, Sarutobi said, allowing the council to leave as he left not soon after. Ichiraku Ramen. Hey Sayuki-chan, how was training? The Haika heiress asked, sitting at the counter of the ramen stand wearing a pair of shinobi pants with a cream and lavender jacket, turning to the person who just arrived. Nothing worth mentioning, to be honest, Hinata-chan, except the same as usual, Kakashi being an ass kisser, Sakura being the annoying fangirl she is, and Sai being that weird kid, Sayuki said, being the last Uchiha in the village after her brother massacred her clan before becoming a rogue ninja. She wore a pair of black shinobi pants and a grey tight shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back with a chikudo on her hip, while her headband rested on her forehead, keeping her bangs from covering her eyes as it reached her back, making her look like a younger form of her mother. Excuse me ladies, mind if me and my team join you for lunch? They heard, making them turn to see a cloaked figure wearing a black trench coat with blue flames on the hood and at the end of the coat, making it unable for them to see the face of the person underneath. Behind him were 4 girls, 3 redeeds, 2 of which were their age, and a brunette also their age, with the older redeed wearing a black mask with a red spiral, all of which wore a music note headband. Sayuki, being the closest, nodded, saying, "Don't see why not. You're not from here, are you?" The cloaked figure shook his head, saying, "Actually, we're from a new village called Odo, so it's no surprise you haven't heard of us, but after these exams, we're going to get our name out there, just watch." "Where are our manners? My name is Karen Uzumaki, these 2 are my twin cousins Taiya and Kitsune Uzumaki, and our friend kin with our sensei Kuroi Yuzu," Karen said, pushing her glasses up, making the Sayuki, Hinata and AM go wide-eyed. "Did you say Uzumaki?" the 3 said, getting a nod from the 5 before the 3 fully turned to them. "Do you know Naruto-kun?" Hinata said, with Sayuki nodding next to her as the others were curious. "If you don't mind my asking, what does this Naruto-kun sound so important to you both? I mean, we've barely been in the village for even an hour, and the entire populace seems to think he's a monster. Let alone human, so what would 2 princesses of Konoha's most well-known clans care for the supposed demon?" Karen said, adjusting her glasses before she and the others ordered their meals, getting a large dose of killer intent from the 3 girls. "He is not a monster. Me, Nico, Kurenai and Anko were the only ones who guarded him seriously before he was chased out of the village. When the Hokage demanded we cease helping him, when I refused, I had my Kunoichi license revoked, where I tried looking out for him as a fellow civilian," AM said with a growl, blasting the group next to Sayuki and Hinata with a strong killer intent. "Really now, Miss Ichiraku, and what of you 2? Why do you 2 care about this?" Naruto Uzumaki. Yuzu asked, curious as to how the daughters of her 2 best friends care so deeply about her son. "He was the only person who didn't treat us like a couple of princesses or care that we're part of 2 clans in the village. He just treated us like normal people, and that's what we first began to love about him," Hinata explained, getting a nod from Sayuki and AM. "It didn't hurt that his whiskers made him all the more cuter than he was with his fox-like expression," Sayuki stated, getting a nod from the other 2, while the girls on the Odo team chuckled, much to the cloaked figure's dismay. Oh, remember what he always said about his whisker marks whenever we called them cute," AM said, giggling, not seeing Naruto twitch, while Taiya had a shit-eating grin on her face. "What did he say? I'm dying to hear this one," Taiya said with a grin similar to Naruto's, while Kin and Karen were just as curious. "He said my whiskers aren't cute, they're baddest databeo." Whenever he said that, he'd puff his cheeks out, making us laugh, the 3 said, howling in laughter, with Taiya laughing her ass off, falling off her seat, while the cloaked figure ignored it, eating his 20th bowl of ramen. "He must be a hell of a guy," Naruto said, getting a nod from the 3 of them as they pulled out a plastic ring that was a prize from a small game in the village for 100 ryo, each with a plastic gem of a different color, which they held on a string on their person. Sayuki's being onyx, which she wore under her shirt, Hinata's being a lavender color which she kept on her arm under the sleeve, and AM's being a hazel color which she kept on the same necklace chain as the gift her father got her many years ago. "He got us these the week before my license was revoked, using the little stipend he was allowed to receive from Sarutobi during a celebration. Usually stores outright deny him anything, but they were so drunk they didn't notice, or they just didn't care, but he was happy nonetheless and got them for us. He even got Anko, Kurenai, Yugao and Hana one as well, using his entire allowance, even if he couldn't eat for the week," AM said, rubbing her thumb over the plastic gem. Of course the Hokage had his student place seals on Anko, Kurenai, and Yugao, making them forget the sweet boy we've all come to love so dearly. He may have erased the memories, but the emotions these rings hold are lasting. Sometimes the girls come down here telling me about a dream they had about the young boy who gave them the rings. All they remembered was the boy had a set of 6 rectangular whisker marks on his face. Nothing more," AM finished, sighing, wiping the tears threatening to fall. "How did you know he had his student place seals on them?" Karen asked, curious. "I may not be in Uzumaki, but I am a damn good seal mistress, especially better than Jiraiya, since Kushina-sensei taught me before she passed with her husband, since she was like a mother to me, Kurenai, Anko and Yugao. I can tell the type of seals he had placed on them down to the last command if I wanted to," she said with pride in her voice, which Kuroi Yuzu chuckled at. "Well, we must be going, tomorrow's the exams and we gotta be rested. See you there, Yasagi-heim, Karasu-heim, Kuma-heim," the cloaked figure said, getting a surprised gasp from the 3 running out of the stand, seeing the team vanish. "Naruto-kun," the 3 whispered as they rubbed the plastic rings one last time before hiding them on their person as Hinata and Sayuki left, wishing AM a good afternoon as they all went home after AM closed shop, thinking about the person that just left shop. Golden Leaf Hotel. "Yo, shithead-kun, was it a good idea to do that?" Taiya asked curious as Naruto shrugged, now just wearing his pants, standing at the stove cooking a meal from the goods they packed. I couldn't help it. Besides, Sayuki has always been the curious type. I bet by the time we meet them in the exams, she would have asked about us with Kabuto giving some information, or if not, she would be persistent in finding out who I was until it was time for a fight, Naruto explained, getting a nod from the others. So what's the plan, Naruto-kun? I know you got the Hokage's black book, but what else is your ace in the hole since you're known to have several backup plans, Kin asked, making the three Retids turn to him. Well, remember when we got that mission from the Fire Daimyo as a trial period to test and see if we could get more missions from Hai no Kuni? Naruto started, getting a nod from the four. Yeah, I remember that Rin was rather pissed at Konoha for their abuse of you, but what do the Daimyo have to do with this? Kushina asked, getting fanged grin from her lover. Putting the finished meal on the table, he said, sitting across from them. Well, the Daimyo and I made a deal after I saved his daughter when he learned I was that child Konoha abused. Let's just say Konoha's days as a major village may be coming to an end, especially with the contracts you told me about, Kushi-chan, Naruto said, getting a devious grin from the girls. Foxy, anyone ever tell you how sadistic you can be? Karen asked with a purr, getting a chuckle from Naruto. I have been told that on an occasion or two, yes, but do you love me any less for it? He asked, getting a negative from the four. Thought as much. Now we better finish eating since it's late and tomorrow is the exams. We gotta be ready tomorrow, Naruto said, putting the dirty dishes in the sink. I just noticed, but there's two beds. Who sleeps with Foxy tonight? Karen mentioned as they saw the room only had two beds that were next to each other before Kushina had an idea. We can all sleep together, we just need to push them together is all she said as she created two clones as they pushed the two mattresses together. An amazingly simple yet satisfying idea, Karen said, taking off her glasses and sat them on the nightstand. Okay, but one last problem to address, girls, that I know I'm going to enjoy, Naruto said, sitting on the edge of the double bed as they turned to him. And what problem would that be, shithead-kun? Taiya said, seeing his grin as she saw his eyes open slightly to see them shed their clothes off their curvaceous bodies. All four were well toned with mouth-watering curves, with Karen, Taiya and Kushina having the Uzumaki genetics as they had a slim waist, long legs and wide hips, and despite the two teens being 14, they were already well developed as early bloomers with high C-cup breasts as the two wore nothing in terms of bras, while Karen wore purple low-leg panties while his sister wore a red thong. Kushina had a pair of double Ds that heaved free under her fishnet shirt after she shed her NOTE uniform like Taiya had, foregoing the chest plate with a black thong. Kin wasn't too far behind Karen and Taiya despite not being in Uzumaki. She had an equally well-kept body with a slightly smaller bust, coming at a borderline low C, with a pair of white bra and panties. Well, girls, the bathroom is only so big, and all we've got is a single shower with a sink and a toilet, and I know you girls love to shower with me, so. Naruto said, sitting in a pair of black boxers. You could hear a pin drop as the four stared at each other while Naruto leaned against the bathroom door when he heard a bell go off in his head when the four tackled each other, wrestling in the middle of the room. After rolling around in the room for a bit, Karen got the upper hand and got to share the shower with Naruto while Kin and the others were left glaring. Uchiha compound. In her bed, wearing a black nightshirt and boy shorts, Sayuki turned to her nightstand, seeing the photo she took with Naruto, Hinata and the others before he left, and when he did, Hinata and the others were heartbroken while Anko, Kurenai and Yugao supposedly forgot about him as if he never existed. The same time that long white-haired pervert appeared. When her clan was destroyed, she was devastated, especially when one of the only two people who truly cared about her was chased out of the village. When he left, she wanted to cry, but she didn't. Instead, she and Hinata, who was hated by her family, put their focus on becoming stronger, and they have, as far as it was considered in the village, with the help of AM, who helped her reach the third tomo before the massacre. But the two felt they could still grow stronger. Strong enough to find the man they loved, but that was difficult with everyone just handing things to them, and to her surprise, the man they loved finally returned to their lives. At least they hoped he did. Grabbing the photo, her heart grew heavy seeing the fanged grin that she fell in love with before hugging it to her chest, saying, Why? Why didn't you take us with you, Naruto-kun? Why did you leave me all alone, Naruto-koi? Placing the photo back on her nightstand, she sighed as she saw her reflection in the photo as she flashed her clan's Dijutsu as it was fully developed before it turned into a red six-pointed star on top of a black background before her eyes turned back to their onyx black color. The Manjikam Sharingan that she acquired after the death of her clan by the hands of her brother, as she developed a second form of her Sharingan that enhances its base abilities while also giving the user several skills which are unique to each person, save for a few being Amaterasu, Tsukiyomi and Susanoo. Of course the new power came at a price, being that the more she used those powers, the more it wore away at her sight to the point she would need to transplant a pair of eyes that also reached the Manjikam Sharingan stage. She's happy that she never needed to use it save for several scrolls her brother left that described the Dijutsu's powers, which she was mildly grateful for. Despite having him being the one who killed her family, she was still happy her brother left her something. I'll get my answers from you, Naruto Uzumaki. Even if I have to become a rogue ninja to do so, she muttered to herself as she drifted off to sleep. Hinata's room. Naruto-kun. She said to herself, looking out the window in the Uchiha compound, that her friend Sayuki was kind enough to let her stay with her after she was kicked out of the clan when she was 5. She was appreciative and wanted to repay her, only for the Uchiha to shake her head, telling her that it's what friends do for each other, especially since they were one of the few friends the other had. "Where did you go and why did you leave us behind?" she said, wiping a tear from her eye before she rolled over to her nightstand, seeing the same photo of her and the others that was on Sayuki's nightstand. Unable to focus anymore, she let her eyes droop until they shut completely with one intent in mind as she thought, "I will get answers, Naruto-kun." You better believe it. The next morning outside the first exam hall. "So you all ready for the exam?" Karen asked, wearing her usual shinobi attire of a lavender long-sleeve jacket that reached under breasts left open, showing her black bra and a pair of low-riding black jeans and a white belt with a Uzumaki spiral as the buckle and black knee-length shinobi sandals. Aya wore a black stretch pants that clung to her curves and a black backless shirt that left the sides of her breasts bare save for a white top that came to her mid-back before it sloped up and over her breast before going into the shirt and around her neck with a red overshirt on top of it with black shinobi sandals and leg guards. She also had several pouches of the same style as her brother. "You act like this is going to be a challenge," Kin said with a grin, getting a nod from the others as they walked through the halls and stopped at the door of the exam room. Appearing in a whirlpool, Shunshin Kushina said, wearing her Anbu attire, said, "I just wanted to wish you all luck and remember, keep the communication seal active at all times. I feel the Kage has his Anbu looking for you, Naruto-kun, so be cautious, although I know you can handle yourselves. Oh, don't worry, Kushi-chan, we're going to be fine, the seal is in place and we can contact you if we need you. Now you might want to get to the Jounin lounge to avoid suspicion," Naruto said, getting a nod as she hugged them all before leaving. "So you all ready? Because once we walk through those doors and start the mission we're going to be dealing with a shitstorm," Naruto said, getting a rough pat on the back by his sister, making him stumble slightly. "Aw, come on, shithead, we are by no means weak like these tree huggers," Aya said, getting a nod from the others, making him grin before nodding. "Then let's do this then," he said as they followed after him through the doors. First exam hall. Walking in through the door they were drowning in killer intent, making Aya scoff, thinking, "Wow, I have to say I thought the gen in here would have more killer intent than this. I mean, an ant has more. Why don't we give them a real show, Foxy-kun?" He nodded when the four blasted the room with killer intent, making the teams that were already there to suffocate before turning away from them shaking. "It seems we're early since the other teams aren't here," Naruto remarked through their mental communication seals when the various teams filed in with Konoha's 4 genin teams and Suna's came in. As Naruto looked over to the side he saw Kabuto with his team, who saw the team of 4 before nodding as the heir of the Inyazuka clan boasted loudly, making the group of 4 groan when Kabuto walked over telling them to be quiet as the genin asked about the general information. Sayuki, staring at Naruto's team with Hinata, asked, "What about that team over there by the wall with the 2 reed heads?" The gathered genin all turned to Naruto's team as they were just as curious, listened in as Kabuto said, "Well, my info cards tell me they're from a new village called Oto, the village hidden in the sound with Konoha's former snake mistress Kusahime being its founder. In fact, she trained those 4 herself with her top shinobi in every field, making them the best gen in this generation in any village with a record to support it." Everyone stared at the 4 when Aya snapped, "What the fuck you pissants looking at?" Tiba, having hearts in his eyes, started to drool seeing Karen's attire as he ran over to her before she raised her hand saying, "Don't even think about it, Inyazuka, you aren't my type." He growled saying, "And I don't take no for an answer, bit." As he was about to finish his sentence he was grabbed by the head thanks to Karen, giving him a strong glare and tossed him into the wall opposite to their own. Kabuto watching this sighed saying, "I really wish people would let me finish. As I was saying, these are their records and information. Kintsuchi. Rank. Genin. Bingo book status. High A low S, flee on sight. Ninjutsu. NA. Ninjutsu. High Anbu Low Kage, affinities. Wind Water Lightning Fire. Dijutsu. Low Kage. Gyuinjutsu. Advanced. Genjutsu. High Kage. Note. One of Odo's finest and one of two upcoming Genjutsu mistresses of sound alongside Taiya Uzumaki and is known as the Mistress of Illusions. Mission completion. D0C42B32A30S10. Parent Uzumaki. Rank. Genin. Bingo book status. Low S high S, flee on sight. Ninjutsu. NA. Ninjutsu. High Kage, affinities. Wind Water Lighting, also known as medical ninjutsu. Dijutsu. Low Kage. Gyuinjutsu. Uzumaki Seal Mistress. Genjutsu. Low Kage. Notes. One of four last known Uzumaki in the Elemental Nations and known as the second coming of Tsunade Senju, the Slug Princess of Konoha, and is considered her equal in medical ninjutsu. Mission completion. D0C42B32A30S10. Taiya Uzumaki Uchiha Senju Namikaze. Known alias. Irekura Akuma. Rank. Genin. Bingo book status. SS, flee on sight. Genjutsu. High Kage. Ninjutsu. High Kage, affinities. Water Fire Earth Lightning Wind. Dijutsu. High Kage. Gyuinjutsu. Uzumaki Seal Mistress. Genjutsu. High Kage. Notes. Daughter of Konoha's former SS rank Kunoichi Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha Namikaze and younger twin sister to Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Senju Namikaze and the great-granddaughter of Tobirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Lied to by Konoha's Toad Sage and student of their father Minato Namikaze Senju the night of the Kyuubi attack as Kushina took her daughter and left when she met Kusahime. Carries the bloodline of the Uchiha, the Senju and the Uzumaki several known bloodlines. Mission completion. D0, C63B68A45S64. Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Senju Namikaze. Known alias. Kitsune no Nayari. Rank. Genin. Bingo book status. SS, flee on sight. Ninjutsu. High Kage. Ninjutsu. High Kage, affinities. Water Fire Earth Lightning Wind. Dijutsu. High Kage. Gyuinjutsu. Uzumaki Seal Master. Genjutsu. Low Kage. Notes. Elder twin of Taiya, eldest son of Konoha's Yondaime Hokage and the Black Whirlpool of Odo. After being chased out of the village at the age of 3 by a group of 10 jounin, he killed them with a ability from what could have been a mutation of his bloodline mixing together, where not soon after the cage of Odo came with the intent of forming a treaty as a means of rebuilding a bond between the Sandaime Hokage and herself when she and Kuroa Yuzu and promptly took Naruto and returned to Odo. Mission completion. D0, C63B68A45S64. As Kabuto finished reading the info cards of the sound team, everyone couldn't help but stare at the four of them as Naruto pulled his hood down, showing his waist-length spiky red and black hair with his fox-like expression visible to the world. Sayuki and Hinata stared at him with tears in their eyes, with partial surprise included as he gave a small wave to the Leaf Ninja. "What's up Sayuki Haim, Hinata Haim, long time no see." The two stared at him for a moment and was about to speak when the room erupted into smoke, making him place his hood back on. As the smoke dispersed, it showed a lightly tanned individual wearing a pair of black pants with combat boots, a black shirt and trench coat with scar on his cheek, while his headband was on top of his head attached to a bandana. "Alright brat, sit down. Shut the fuck up and prepare for the first portion of the Chunin exams," the man said as Naruto recognized him as one of the attackers who made his life hell as he was one of his mother's friends. Ibiki Marino, one of the fuckers of the village. "This is going to be fun," Naruto thought as he and the others took their seats and began to listen to the rules starting the Chunin exams. First exam hall. "Alright brats, pencils down and shut it because it's time for the 10th and final question," Ibiki said as Naruto and the others put their pencils down after the number of genin who were participating were reduced to a slim number. "Now before I say anything for your next question, it's best you all know that if you fail this question, not only will you be kicked from the exams here, you will be banned from participating for the rest of your ninja career," Ibiki said, getting cries of outrage from the other genin, while Naruto's team rolled their eyes despite Naruto keeping his closed. "He honestly doesn't think such a pathetic tactic works, does he?" Taiya said, getting a sigh as several teams forfeited. "Apparently some of their own ninja are pathetic enough to fall for it. Good to see Hinata and Sayuki aren't," Naruto said as he got a nod from the others. Foxy, how about you knock this tree fucker down to size, Kin thought, with Karen egging him on, getting a chuckle from Naruto, making the other Genin and Ibiki stare at him. Got a problem, boy? I can make sure your little group doesn't continue through these exams too, you know, Ibiki said, getting another chuckle from Naruto. Ibiki Marino of Anbu's T&I division, otherwise known as the Mind Reaper for his psychological warfare tactics. I applaud you for tricking the more simpler Genin with such a blatant lie, but let's be honest, Naruto started with a frown on his face as he opened one eye slightly as he stared at the face of the glaring Jounin. Are you honestly so delusional to think you have the say over other villages on if their Genin are allowed to continue the exams if they should fails this one? Or are you simple-minded to think your Kage, an old man, has the capability of ordering and forcing another Kage of keeping them from allowing their Genin to continue? That would be close to declaring war if any, he continued as another chuckle echoed from his throat. But Tsuchikage has a better chance at that, and he's older than Hiruzen by a large number of years. But let's face it, your Kage is as intimidating as a puppy with a cold, and that's on his good day. Stop the charade and continue the exams, otherwise get someone better to do your job, Naruto said as he opened his eyes completely as he shot a glare at Ibiki, filling the room with killer intent, making the Jounin nod in fear. Well, as the kid said, congratulations, you've passed the first exam, Ibiki said, making the other Genin stare at the stoic expression on Naruto's face, while the girls in the room had a blush on their faces. Damn, Foxy, be careful, you already got several girls after you, don't want an army of women on your tails, Kin said before Karen said. Although it would seem that the Kumo, Iwa, and Taki girls have a strong shine for you, Foxy. Didn't our old man set up an arrangement for you with them? Taiya said, getting a mental groan from her brother. Don't start, Yahaim, and yes, he did, he set up a marriage arrangement. The three of them wanted to wait for a moment, he said as he noticed a shadow form on the glass in the window next to Ibiki before it bust as a black tarp unfurled covering the front wall as a woman with purple pineapple styled hair wearing a fishnet bodysuit and black spandex shorts under a tan skirt with a long beige trench coat that kept over her breasts appeared with a necklace tied around her neck with a snake's fang and the plastic ring with a grey diamond on it. Reading the tarp, it said, the proctor of the second phase of the Chunin exams. The sexy and taken Anko Mitarashi. Damn, Naruto-kun, you just attract the baddest bitches, don't you, Karen said, getting a chuckle from him as Taiya stared at her. The woman who loves destruction as much as I do. I fucking think I might possibly be bisexual, Taiya said, getting a chuckle from Naruto. Technically sis, all those times you've had me clean your pipes, there were a few times where he said, getting cut off by Taiya. Shut it, fuckhead. That does not leave our skulls, got it? She threatened, getting a chuckle from her teammates. Wow, Ibiki, you're off your game, Anko said with a hand on her hip, looking to the bandana wearing Jounin. Well, I guess we just have a promising crop this year, he said, keeping eye contact with Naruto, who now had a fox-like smile on his face while he kept his eyes closed as Anko stared at him before her eyes widened, seeing his block-like whisker marks. Well, don't you worry any, I'll reduce these whelps by more than half on my exam, she said, staring at Naruto before he waved at her before gaining a grin on her face. Alright, you little shits, you've got 15 minutes to get to training ground 44. If you're not on time, don't bother showing up, she said, vanishing in a shunshin as Naruto got up with his team and left in a burst of static while the other teams ran. Training ground 44. Stopping at the training ground, Naruto and his team found themselves as the only ones there as Karen said, am I the only one who finds it odd that Anko isn't here? Getting a nod from the others, Naruto took a step forward before getting tackled, dragging him to the ground by a horde of snakes, with Anko standing over him as she said flatly, what's my favorite food, what do I like to do as a hobby, and what do I hate the most? Raising an eyebrow, he was met with a kunai to the throat as he nodded, saying, your favorite food is sweet bean soup, well your favorite addiction is dango. As a hobby you like to do flower arranging, and what you hate most are liars, traitors, and the Hidden Leaf Village for making your surrogate mother and sister leave you behind in the village. You forgot one thing, Anko said, using her snakes to pull Naruto to his feet, making him look at her in confusion. What did I, he said before she smashed her lips on his before pulling back for a minute. You forgot that under my favorites that I love a certain red and black-haired fox, she said, making him blush as she recalled her snakes back into her sleeves as she hugged him. Missed you, Foxy. We all did, she said, making him raise an eyebrow. All you mean? He said, getting a nod from the snake summoner as she thumbed her ring. That's right, but right now they're busy. But they'll see you later, for now there is something to handle, she said as they saw the other shinobi teams approach. Alright brats, and some of you actually made it on time, we can proceed to my part of the exam. You are to enter this forest for 5 days and nights and reach the tower in the center of the forest. Before the exam starts your team gets one scroll. It's your job to fight the other teams to get the other scroll in the set to advance as you make it to the tower, she started to explain when a large Hevesit boy shouted in protest. 5 days. What are we supposed to do for food? He said, getting a snort from Anko. Think of it as a survival exercise, but just a disclaimer, whatever you may try to eat just might eat you instead. This place isn't called the Forest of Death just because it sounds intimidating, as this is the field Anbu are trained in, and even then some of them don't survive in here, and speaking of which, she said, pulling out pamphlets. These are liability waivers that says that during these exams, we are by no means responsible for your deaths while you are part of the test. By filling these out you will take it to that booth and receive your team's scroll, and to make things fair, since the sound team has 4 genin opposed to the standard 3, they will have to get 2 complete sets, as they get 1 complete set and 1 additional scroll, Anko said, as the teams nodded, reading over the pamphlet. Reading over the paper, the team went to turn in their waivers, receiving 3 scrolls as 2 red earth, while 1 red heaven, with Kin pocketing the 3 in her kunai pouch and a gate to stand at. This would where I would say some comforting dribble that would instill you with confidence. But instead I'm going to drive my point across. This isn't some shitty game you used to play as kids or some other nonsense. Fuck around in there and you will die. So with that said, try not to die. Anko said as the gates opened, making the teams run through the gates. With Team 7. I have to find Naruto and get some answers. Sayuki thought as she jumped through the trees with her teammates, consisting of a pink-haired fangirl and an emotionless boy with short black hair. Humming to a stop, Sayuki said, how about we split up from here to cover more ground and meet back here in an hour? It could be of help to find a safe place to hide out. Stopping with her, the fangirl said, but Kakashi-sensei told us to stay by you at all times. So if we get attacked and they take our scrolls, risking our chance to win is fine. She said, making the emotionless boy nod with her. Balloon breasts makes a fair point. With all of us spread out, we can find a strategic point to plan, he said, getting a nod from Sayuki and a reluctant nod from Sakura as Sayuki took out a kunai and slashed the tree next to her. We'll meet back here in 1 hour, Sayuki said as she jumped to the trees, flashing her Dojutsu, remembering his large chakra reserves. With Team 8. For the last time in Yuzuka, I do not want to go on a date with you. I am not your bitch, I am not your mate, and I am not your prize. Keep asking and I'll remove your testicles because I'm about to shove my foot up your ass as you walk home to explain to Tsume-sama why she now has 2 daughters instead of 1 daughter and 1 son, Hinata said, jumping to the next tree as her annoying teammate and her silent teammate. Aw, come on Hinata, ever since that no-named loser showed up you've been different. Why be with some outcast when you can be with an heir to a clan, he said, while his companion groaned in annoyance. Hiba-san, it would be best to remember his father was the 4th Hokage, and he's part of several clans while holding a high place in the bingo book, despite being our age along with his sister. It would be logical for her to hold preference for someone whose lineage falls deep into the roots of the village, the 2 genin silent teammates said. Whatever she know, I know what Hinata want. Kiba said as he turned to grope Hinata's ass before he got a kunai to the hand, making him jump back. Last warning in Yuzuka. I'm going for some air, it suddenly got rather stale here, Hinata said, running off, getting a sigh from Shino as he tended to his idiotic teammate's injury, activating her Byakugan. But the sound team. Wait. Naruto said as the group of 4 came to a rest, waiting in a clearing after fighting several teams, getting 2 earths and a heaven as they waited when Hinata and Sayuki appeared in front of him, with their Dojutsu active, glaring at Naruto, who stood at the front. Hey Hina Haim, Sayuki Haim, wondering when I'd get the chance to talk to you too, he said, only to be on the receiving end of a punch to the face from the 2, making him skid back before catching his footing. Taking the contents in his mouth, he spit out a glob of blood, wiping the corner of his mouth by taking the trail of blood from coming from his lip, as he said, looking into the 2 glaring women's eyes. I deserve that, I really do. Damn right you do, Uzumaki. Or is it Uchiha? Maybe you'd prefer Senju or Namikaze. Where the hell were you all those years, Naruto, and what the hell is going on? Sayuki said, jabbing her finger into his chest as the 2 glared at him, making him sigh. Fine. To explain things easier, I'll start off with my heritage. I am Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Namikaze Senju, the son of Kushina Uzumaki Uchiha and Minato Namikaze Senju. I am also the elder twin of Taiya Uzumaki Uchiha Namikaze Senju. On my mother's side, she is the daughter of Yuzu's Kisa Uzumaki and Madara Uchiha, while my father is the son of Mila Namikaze, the head branch of the Kagaya clan, and Tabarama Senju, he said, making the 2 stare at him before they nodded to him as he continued. When we were 3 after seeing you and the others, I was chased by shinobi and civilians assigned by the Hokage to attack me as part of his grand scheme of me being a loyal puppet, as I was the former container of the nine-tailed fox." He paused, letting that sink in for the two as he waited for a moment. "I learned the truth of what the Hokage has done. I took everything that belonged to my family and ran in hopes of finding my mother and sister, who was lied to by my father's teacher and his student under the Hokage's orders. When my mom met the Hokage's former student Kusahime as I ran, I ended up running into the two of them as they saved me and took me back to their village, where I was trained to be the best and make Konoha pay for everything they've done," he said, making the two stare at him as he finished. "So Hana, Kurenai, Anko and the others forgetting about you the next day, and that new guy Kabuto. He works with you guys, doesn't he?" Hinata said, getting a nod. "Yes, she's Odo's spy master and she was sent in hopes of getting all of you to join Odo. Have new lives away from the scheming of the Hokage and the corrupt village that ate away at the honorable roots by my granduncle, grandfather and father worked for," he explained, getting a nod from the two. "How can we trust you two? We waited for you for years in hopes that you'd come back. We know you have multiple clans even before that we agreed to share you, but why the hell should we go along with you?" Sayuki said, making Naruto scratch his head. "I'm not forcing you. If you wish to come with us after this is over, then that would be great to have the few people who gave a damn about me in Konoha in a better place that would actually respect you for you and not of your bloodlines or genes. If not, then I am still happy to see the two of you are alright," he said, reaching into his pouch to grab an Earth and Heaven scroll. "Dear, you two need one of these, don't you?" he said, getting a nod from the two as they both grabbed a scroll, allowing him to walk off as he pulled his hood over his head. "If you're willing to speak to me when you've come to your decision, we'll be at the tower. You have until the end of the second exam to come to a decision though," Naruto said as he and his team vanished in a burst of static. Collapsing to her knees, Hinata finally let the tears she kept back flow as Sayuki did the same, squeezing the scroll in her hand as Hinata said, "Sayuki-chan. What do you think we should do? I know the others would take his offer, but would he be the same? Why the hell should we? He left us alone for years and now he chooses to come now out of the blue," Sayuki said when they heard a scoff, making them turn to see Tei leaning against a tree. "You're rather stupid for a tree fucker. Cousin, big tits over here too, but that's the standard for women with huge tits. Air's gotta go somewhere if it ain't your skull," she said, flashing her Dijutsu before it changed to six-bladed curved shuriken before gaining curved tri-bladed shuriken in the center. Glaring at her with her own Sharingan changing to a six-pointed star, Sayuki said, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Keeping eye contact with her fellow Sharingan user, she said, "It's supposed to mean that just like how being away from him tore at you too, it tore at him to be without you all. Growing up all he'd do is talk about you all. Hell, there were times he'd have nightmares where he saw you acting like the rest of this kami-forsaken village and shunned and hated him or blamed him for everything bad that might have happened to you. Don't get me wrong, I'm a bitch, a foul-mouthed bitch at that, and damn well proud of it. But I will come to my brother's defense in a heartbeat and say he truly does still love you too. I mean, if he didn't, he wouldn't have even spoken to you or let you register in his line of sight. Trust me, people who doesn't register to him are either dead or damn well close, especially if he let you hit him." She paused, remembering that time. "The last time anyone laid their hands on him was when we were in training after we killed our first person. Kusahime gave him a bitch slap so loud you could hear it in Testu no Kuni, and we were only 6 at the time," Teiya continued as she watched the two stare at her. "Do or don't, it's your call, but know that Naruto hasn't gone a day without a single thought of any of you to pass through his head at any moment. You might want to get your teams and get to the tower and think on it, and just a word of warning," she said, getting up close to the two, pressing her chest against the both of theirs. Staying silent for a moment, she said quietly, "You hurt my foxy cun either physically or emotionally like you just did now again. And this village will lose the last Sharingan it's got and 2 of their dear princesses." With her piece, said she vanished in a puff of smoke, leaving the two to themselves in the forest as Hinata said she was telling the truth. "I could feel it. I still need to think on it," Sayuki said as she started to walk away. "To think on if he's like your brother or if leaving with the person who loves you the most is worth leaving the village and its manipulations," Hinata said, making her halt in her steps, knowing that was exactly what she was thinking. "So what if I am thinking that? Naruto was someone I loved and he just vanished. When my clan was killed by my brother, I always expected him to appear and make things better like he always did when we were sad. For years I kept dreaming of me and him happy as Leaf Ninja with kids of our own, teaching them. I was going to ask him out when entered the academy," she said, clenching her fist, making the knuckles pop. "And you think he didn't either?" I'm going to accept his offer, it's your call Sayuki-chan, but I won't give my decision until you're ready yourself, but ask yourself this. Are you going to achieve that dream or are you going to let your insecurities of losing him again push him away? Hinata said, running back to her team, leaving the Uchiha heiress to herself as she growled, gripping the plastic onyx-colored diamond ring. Naruto-kun. Do you still feel the same as you did back then? She thought before cutting off her Dojutsu and ran back to her team. Chunin exam tower. Foxy, you okay? Karen asked as Naruto was silent the entire trek through the forest, a thing that was normal for him, except he lacked the normal carefree air about him. I'm fine, Karen-chan. I'm just tired is all. I've been worried about everyone for so long, and now that I know the others regained their memories and the conversation just now. I'm just emotionally drained, he said as he pulled out all 4 scrolls. Let's open them and get to our room. I'm exhausted, he said, opening 2 of the 4 scrolls as Kuroe Yuzu appeared in a puff of smoke, noticing the air around them. What happened? She said, taking off her mask to show her concerned expression. Foxy was confronted by Anko and the 2 princesses, and he learned Kabuto did her job with the others while he was confronted by the 2 girls. They laid into him, yelling at him for just vanishing for so long without saying anything, and he's exhausted emotionally. He gave the 2 an ultimatum on if they wish to leave with us or stay, and they have till the end of this part of the exam in 5 days, Kin said, making Kushina hold her son's head to her chest, pulling off his hood as she rubbed her hand through his hair. It's going to be okay, Naruto-kun, it's to be expected, a woman's heart is a complex thing. They're happy to see you, but they're also confused, just give them the time you gave them to think it over and give them their space until they come to you. Now congratulations are in order for passing the 2nd exam and in record time at that. I placed your kunai in our home and your rooms here in the tower, so you can come and go there as you please, Kushina said, kissing his forehead, making a small smile come to him. Now head inside and rest, take a load off, she said, getting a nod from the 4 as she reapplied her mask and left in a tornado of water. Come on Foxy, let's take a load off and relax, Kin said, pulling Naruto's hood over his head as she dragged him into the tower, just missing teams 8 and 7 as the gate to the tower closed before the 2 teams could enter. 5-day overview. Over the 5 days, Naruto spent his time either at his parents' home in the village or training in whatever he could to alleviate his boredom as the forest tore down the participants of the 2nd exam. When he wasn't training, he spoke with Anko and the others who she brought with her to see him again and gave them the same decision as they each agreed under their own reasoning, one of which because they loved him, as those declarations were followed by a slap to the face. During the time, Naruto gave Hinata and Sayuki their space as Kushina advised, as whenever Naruto saw them in the same room as him, he'd go somewhere else. If he had no choice but to be in the same space as them, then he would avoid eye contact with them. He was afraid. Afraid that the 2 of them would shun him or they would gain the same train of thought as the rest of the village, as he was just a monster. Uzumaki room of the tower. Foxy, come on, it's time to go, Kin said as Naruto got up, opening the 2 scrolls, drawing his 2 swords, placing them on his hips while changing his attire, slightly changing the kimono top from gray to a dark purple-blue color with a Uzumaki spiral, Uchiha fan and Senju crest on the back with black forearm length, fingerless gloves with thick silver rings on each finger that was attached to the gloves, and the rope belt was gone, as he also removed the studded belts from his sleeves. He also put his hair in a low ponytail with his bangs coming over his left eye, with a black headband around his neck with a musical note on the metal plate as he stood up, opening his eyes, showing a cold royal purple eye with a black reptilian slit. Shall we go? He said, getting a nod from the 3 as they walked out of the room. Power Arena. Now that you're all present, I would like to address a matter. Due to the number of genin who made it through the 2nd exam, there will be a preliminary round, the aged Kage said, looking down at the group of genin who chatted amongst themselves. A preliminary round? Why the hell would we do that instead of just going to the finals or do some other test? The 2nd eldest boy of the Suna team said, getting hit in the head by the woman. Because for one Kakuro-san the amount of genin would be too much and nobody would be willing to sit through some odd number of genin to fight each other. This is to reduce the number of genin to a reasonable number, as you will each be paired off against a random genin on that board, and the winners of their fights are given the right to take part in the finals, Hiruzen explained before his sight landed on Naruto, who didn't even acknowledge him. Cough. If you don't mind, Hokage-sama. Cough. I'll take over here, a sickly sword-carrying Jounin said as Hiruzen nodded. For these exams. Cough. To enter the finals you must win. Cough. Your match against your opponent. Cough. Any outside interference from the stands will be considered a forfeit on the side of whoever took action, he said before he paused, nodding to Anko. When your name is called you are to stay where you are on the ground. If you're not called, then you are to go the stands and watch the battles. Last note, due to there being an odd number of genin, one of you will be getting a bye for the round as you freely pass to the finals, she said as she stared at the genin before. Due to the difference in numbers, one genin will have to fight twice and one genin will receive a bye. The genin who receives the bye is Hyotonuzumaki, she said, getting a burst of profanity from Naruto's sister. Now before the first round starts, is there anyone who would like to pull out now? She said as Kabuto raised his hand. I would like to, Anko-san. My team just got here and I'm not exactly at 100%, so if it's okay with you, I'll be going, he said with a bow before walking out of the room before Anko marked him a fail. Alright then, now that's out of the way, we can get on with the first round and the lucky fighters are. She said looking at the screen, as did the genin and jounin. Karen Uzumaki vs. Sakura Haruno. The first round has been set and it's Karen Uzumaki of Odo versus Sakura Haruno of Konoha. You two stay where you are. The rest of you get to the stands, Anko said as everyone went to their jounin before Karen gave Naruto and the others a grin. Arena floor. The first match of the preliminary rounds will now commence between Karen Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno. Are both fighters ready? The sickly jounin said, getting a nod from the two, making him start the battle. Man, I'm honestly a little disappointed. If they let a fangirl like you become a kunoichi, then this village isn't as great as it appears to be, Karen said, placing one hand on her hip, getting a growl from Sakura. What was that? I was third runner-up as kunoichi of the year, you bimbo. What did you have to do to be a kunoichi? Suck your teacher's dick because you're so pitiful, she said, getting a chuckle from Karen. No, I let my skills as a ninja do the talking, seeing as on my team, I'm the third strongest in my group, seeing as I'm more of a medic than anything, but unlike you who focuses on their looks, I put focus on my skills. So just watch, Karen said, adjusting her glasses before vanishing as she reappeared in front of Sakura with a glowing green blade made of chakra form from around her hand as she slashed her several times on her arms and legs, making Sakura collapse. This is the difference between Odo and Konoha in terms of shinobi numbers. Odo desires quality over quantity, and while we have less ninja than other villages, our power alone makes up for it, and it shows that your own sensei didn't train you, so if you survive in the field, get a better teacher, she said, kicking Sakura in the head, knocking her unconscious. Pitiful, Karen said as she walked out to the stands to join her team, who congratulated her as the Leaf Ninja glared at them, save for Hinata, Sayuki, the cat-masked kunoichi, and Hinata's sensei Kurenai, before everyone's attention was drawn to the board as it read. Subaku no Tamari vs. Tenten. Will both Subaku no Tamari of Suna vs Tenten of Konoha come down to start the match? The jounin at the stadium floor said as the two made their way down, as Taya said, leaning against the rail. The tree fucker doesn't stand a chance, she said, looking at the two squaring off before Tenten sensei came over. That's a rot or unyouthful accusation, Odo-san, what makes you say this? He yelled before Taya wiped her face from the spit that flew. First, you homosexual fucker, say it, don't fucking spray it. Second, it's like my cousin said, you leaf fuckers focus more on quantity over quality, otherwise you'd see that you're sending your student to her grave. The girl focuses on long-range attacks and combat. Hell, I'd bet she doesn't even know any actual jutsu or techniques that could save her ass, she explained as she turned to see Tenten's weapons get blown away by Tamari's large fan. As you can see, she only has throwing weapons under her belt and it's not doing her any favors, Taya said, watching Tenten get tossed in the air by a large tornado before her back crashed into Tamari's fan, making Tamari the winner. Watching the medics carry Tenten out, the others turned to the board as it read the next match. Time skip due to many matches being the same. Watching them carry Lee away after breaking his arm and leg, everyone turned to the board as it reeled through the names. Betting from his leaning position on the wall, Naruto made his way down as the final names on the board read. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Rock Lee. The final match between Naruto Uzumaki Ichihanamika's Senju and Rock Lee will now commence. Are both fighters ready? The jounin said, getting a nod from the two as they squared off. Yosh, Naruto-sen, I will win. Lee said, getting a grunt from Naruto. I guess we'll just have to see about that, because so far your village has done little to show what's made them so great, and I have no intent on losing to some pampered leaf kid who's barely touched the base of the mountain. But I must ask, are you ready to dance? He said, opening his eyes as they were pitch black with several red rings and gray tomo, as he bit his thumb and swiped it across his palm, bringing out a black and dark blue gunbai with a Uzumaki spiral on both sides with a chain attached, before sealing away his swords. After his piece was said, nothing else was uttered as Naruto tossed his gun by at Lee, making it spin, catching the boy in his side as it actually cut him before Naruto pulled the chain, making it come back to him before kneeing the bushy-browed teen in the face. In the stands. "Alright Foxy. Kick that bushy-browed fucker's ass," Taya said, grinning as she and her team watched him dance around his opponent as he ducked and dodged around his opponent's blows. "Hey, you might want to stop cheering. Girly Lee is one of the village's strongest genin. In terms of Taijutsu, your friend doesn't stand a chance," the Jounin of Team 8 said as Kushina chuckled. "Naruto-kun isn't some second-rate genin like the rest of this village. He was trained by Oda Kage-sama, myself and many of the village's powerful shinobi and Kunoichi alongside his sister, and once he achieves Jounin rank, he will be offered the position of Sandai Modokage. His skills as a ninja are incomparable to any," she said, turning to the fight. Stadium floor. "I must ask you to take this seriously, otherwise this fight will have been a waste of time," Naruto said as Lee struggled to get up, panting before removing the leggings on his legs, showing he had weights wrapped around them before tossing them aside, causing a strong vibration to occur, making Naruto raise an eyebrow slightly. "Very well, Naruto-san. I will show you my flames of youth," he said, running as he vanished before Naruto ducked, making Lee miss the blow to his head before getting kicked to his side, launching him to the wall, making him right himself, landing with his feet on the wall, brushing off imaginary dust. "Impressive. I knew despite your chakra coil's small size and minuet flow of chakra that you hold a genetic disease making it impossible to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, but to push yourself to such an extreme. I'm rather impressed. There might be some redemption for your village yet in my eyes," Naruto said before allowing himself to fall to the ground. "But not even this is enough to beat me, for you see, Lee. Strength is not a phenomenon caused by physical objects, but of will, and my will is stronger," he said before vanishing and drove his knee into Lee's stomach before flipping over Lee's head, driving the back of his heel into it, throwing him forward. Forming a single hand sign, he said, "Kaiten. Raikon no Jutsu, fire style. Dragon flame release song jutsu." Exhaling, he fired a series of black dragon-shaped fireballs that flew at Lee before he focused wind chakra into the fan, swinging it, causing the dragons to fly and grow in size before turning away as the dragons made contact, covering the area in smoke. "Heiman. Kickman. Seiman Shimon. Toman," Lee shouted in the dust when a large surge of chakra burst outward, blowing the dust away, with Lee standing in the center of the area, with his skin turning red with veins bulging, and his eyes were white without pupils. "Interesting. So you can access the Hachiman, 8 gates, perhaps one of the few ninjutsu you can use due to your problem. Show me what you're capable of," he said, leaning back as Lee appeared under him, trying to deliver a kick to his chin before vanishing as Naruto blocked the next blow with his fan. Pushing off the fan, Lee vanished again and tried to hit him from the back, only to meet his fan again as he said, "Not even your newfound speed can evade my eyes, Lee, even now you're moving at a snail's pace." Forming several hand signs, he said, "Futen. Hikasaku Tatsumaki, wind style. Tearing tornado." Swinging the fan, he created a large tornado that caught Lee, that sliced him all over as he fell to the ground, with the last thing he heard was as Naruto caught him with the flat of the fan, "No matter how tough you make yourself out to be, this is the end. Let me see you out, as against me victory is out of the question for you." Being declared the winner, Lee Sensei took Lee off the outstretched fan as Naruto said, "You should be proud, my guy. I've faced a lot of Leaf Shinobi with my team, some of Jounin, Chunin and Anbu rank, and none of them made me consider taking the fight seriously like he did. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." "You weren't taking this seriously, Naruto-san," he said, making Naruto look out of the corner of his eye, making everyone see a silhouette of Madara Uchiha appear over him as Naruto's eyes reverted to a red color that turned into a 6-bladed shuriken with a curved 3-bladed shuriken inside. The two said in the same tone, "Do you think any adult would fight a child seriously?" Nodding, the sickly Jounin said as Lee was carried to the medics as he said, "The last match is about to begin. Will Shikamaru Nara please come down? Actually, I would like to forfeit. I could see from that last fight that I wouldn't even be able to land a blow on him. It would be pointless if I did," he said, getting a nod from Naruto as the boys Jounin Sensei sighed. "Very well then, will the genin who won their matches please come down," he said as the remaining genin jump over the railing as the Hokage came down. "To the genin who won their matches, I congratulate you on your victories. Before you go to the finals, we will present you with a 1-month break to train, come up with new tricks, and be ready as shinobi, daimyos and figureheads of other villages come to the village. For the finals you will draw a number from the box, and depending on the number is the person you will face," he said when Anko came by with a box. As each competitor drew from the boxes, Taiya was the first one. Duniji said. 3, Kin said as she showed her number. 4, Shino said, making Kin look from the corner of her eye. 5, Hinata said next. 6, I said, making Hinata stare at Sayuki's stoic teammate. 7, Karen said, adjusting her glasses. 8, Tamari said. 9, Sayuki said, simply turning to Naruto as he drew number 10. And that makes me 10, he said blandly as a random ninja wrote down on the board writing the opponents for the match. Hyotonuzumaki vs Niji Hyuga. Hintsuchi vs Shino Aburam. Hinata Hyuga vs Sai Shimura. Karen Uzumaki vs Sabaku no Tamari. Sayuki Uchiha vs Naruto Uzumaki. These are the matches for the finals, be prepared, the pride of your villages are on the line, he said, dismissing the ninja as Naruto, and his group walked away as they reached the tower's door. Naruto. The sound team heard, making them turn to see Sayuki and Hinata running towards him as the two stopped in front of him. Sayuki-chan. Hinata-chan, I guess you came to a decision then? He said, getting a nod from the two. When exactly are we leaving again? Sayuki said, getting a grin from Naruto and the others. 1 week later. Keep up the training, I've got an old man to visit, Naruto said to Hinata, Sayuki and the others who were being trained by his team in his parents' original home with a special training ground that would help with training. Of course Naruto-kun will whip these wannabe Odo bitches into shape, you handle your business, Taiya said, getting a growl from the others as he chuckled. Walking out of his parents' home and past the gates, he was surrounded by Anbu with a bear-masked ninja said, Hokage-sama demands your presence. Getting a shrug from him, he walked to the Hokage tower at a leisurely pace, his usual fox-like smile on his face with his eyes closed. Konoha Council Chambers. Where the hell is that demon? We ordered him here 3 hours ago. A civilian said as the Shinobi Council sighed and elders growled. Hiruzen, I thought you ordered for your Anbu to gather the demon while your Anbu keeps his team under watch as a last resort, Danzo said, watching the cage. He should be here, my Anbu told me he was on his way, Hiruzen said as the large doors opened to reveal Naruto. Ah, so sorry I'm late, Council. Odo isn't always so sunny as it is here, let alone have such a comforting heat like here in Konoha, so I decided I'd take my time and enjoy this as much as I can before I return home to my village, he said with a smile, while a civilian growled. Watch who you speak to, demon, this is our village, and our word is law, when we tell you to come you come. A civilian said, getting a wider smile from Naruto. Oh, I do sincerely apologize, civilian-san, but only my team sensei and Kage hold command over me. You would have had say over me, but you lost that after I was chased out of the village at the age of 3, he said, scratching the back of his head. It doesn't matter, Naruto-kun, it's great to see you again after so long, how have you been? Hiruzen said in a friendly tone, getting a chuckle from Naruto. Oh, I'm doing just fine, Hokage-sama, just doing my job as a loyal Odo shinobi and my part-time businesses as a owner of a photoshoot and one of Odo's greatest magazine, musician, and several other businesses or hobbies that make a profit for my village, he said, scratching his head. A photoshoot? What do you take photos of? Hiruzen said as Naruto pulled out a scroll from his pocket which he unsealed, showing a portfolio. I take tasteful photos to work as a calendar or the magazine to emphasize the most desired ninja and kunoichi of the village, our Lady Kage Kusuhem herself and several others, my team and I included, he explained as Hiruzen opened the portfolio to see several photos of Kusuhem posing in sexy manners, wearing swimsuits to sexy sleepwear, and another photo to show her wearing a pair of stretch pants and a tight sports bra training. Another set was Kagura and Kin modeling as the two acted as natural as possible, some were of the two laying on the roof of a building wearing two-piece bikinis with the tops removed, while another was of Karen wearing a nurse uniform with the skirt coming to her upper thigh. The other two were of Naruto and Taiya in several photos, together with their back facing the camera, while the two didn't have a top on, as she had her hands on either side of his head grinning while Naruto grinned as well with an eye partially open. Another was of the two sparring with sweat pouring off them after they were passed around, Naruto said, collecting them. You'd be surprised on how well we do with these magazines and calendars, but I don't think my business or the exchange of pleasantries is why you called for me, is it, Hiruzen? Shaking his head in slight wonder of the underlying change in tone, he said, you are correct, Naruto, I wanted to ask what it would take to get you to return to Konoha with your sister and mother. The same sister and mother your student, and the failure my father had the nerve to call a student lied to. Why should I return to a village full of filth that would lie to their own ninja just to maintain power? Why drop my standards for the sole purpose of stroking the shriveled egos of the ancient who are gripping at the few straws they can hold? I wonder if your sensei would be proud of you allowing your ninja to beat and abuse a child, or your little plans. He said, pulling out a black notebook with a gold leaf etched in it, making the four elders pale. So Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, why exactly should I do as you say? He said, getting a chuckle from Hiruzen. Because I have Anbu. Hiruzen started only to get cut off by Naruto. You mean the Anbu you snuck into Odo trying to find me and learn secrets? Or do you mean the root ninja keeping watch over my team? You really are stupid, but hey, here's the situation. You try to sneak your diseased cattle into my herd, and now you're going to try and sneak them out. Just don't blame me if you get shot in the attempt, he said, only for large glass object to smash into his head, making blood drip down his face while he still smiled. Smug as Homura tossed a water pitcher, Hiruzen said, now Naruto, it would be a shame if you didn't do what your superiors told you, and I'll be taking that book back. Not giving a response, and Anbu took the booklet as Hiruzen said, I do honestly wish you were more cooperative, Naruto, but look at it this way, you, your sister, mother and cousin, will help in bringing the Uzumaki back to the world. He would have said more only for Naruto to laugh as he said, you really are senile, aren't you, Hiruzen Sarutobi? All of you take a look at my eyes. Opening them, he continued, take a long look. If you stare hard enough you'll see your own reflections, but here's the thing, I don't see you nor recognize you as a threat. As ninja we do more than just deal with the missions given to us, but more so the people behind those missions. What are you talking about, boy? Danzo said, getting a chuckle from Naruto as he pulled out a cellular phone that was a little wet. I'm glad I made these things out of waterproof materials, he said when Homura cut in. Watch what you do, demon, we still have you where we want you. He said, getting a chuckle from Naruto. You mean the Root and Anbu ninja? How about you try checking up on them, Naruto said, pressing the button before pressing the screen, causing a large hologram to appear with the first being their base in Odo. Hey Yoko Taicho, we took care of them all like you said, everything's fine on our end, and all forms of sabotage has been dealt with, nothing else to mention. A masked Kenwaichi with a musical note on the mask and purple hair, said, getting a nod from Naruto. That's good, Gurren-chan, you're free to attend to your usual duties if you wish, he said, getting a nod from them as they vanished before Naruto slid his finger across the screen, showing another scene of the Uzumaki Namikaze compound with several of Naruto's clones standing over the dead ninja before they vanished in a puff of smoke. Staring at the group in front of him, he saw the color in their face drain as looked at his wrist, seeing a watch that read 3:45 p.m. Oh my, 3:45 p.m, my favorite show is on. I think you might like this as well. You see, here is in the worth of this village, and the lives of those involved are worth only that of a single sheet of paper, he said, sliding his thumb across the screen to see the fire daimyo Haruko Muramoto, along with Kusahime and Kagura standing next to her. Now just draw 2 lines across the name and sign underneath to show you accept the changes, Kusahime said, as the video feed showed their daimyo cross through the name twice, before writing it underneath with a large contract written up. Konoha is now no longer one of the 5 great hidden villages, their funding has been dropped by 65%, as well as taking 70% of missions to Odo and Suna. The Uzumaki whirlpool shall be removed from everything in the village, along with all things that belong to their clan, effective immediately. Any and all civilians or shinobi clans included are permitted to leave Konoha without reprimand. The document is now sealed, Kagura announced as the daimyo's secretary accepted the leader's hands. And has just left the daimyo's hand, she said, getting a larger smile on his face as the holographic screen faded from view. You fucked with my family one too many times and this is the result, but know this, the daimyo knows everything involving your schemes and your plan to have him killed and replaced. Don't squander what little chance you have, because know this, one slip up and all that remains of the Leaf Village will only be a memory, he said, pushing his killer intent through the roof, making everyone gasp as he turned to walk out of the room. Farewell, here is in Sarutobi, it was a pleasure to see you again, he said as the doors slowly closed as the killer intent faded, leaving everyone glued to their seats in fear. Uzumaki Namikaze estate. Damn it, Naruto, you're really starting to get reckless. What would have happened if they got really arrogant? Kushina said as she sat Naruto on the couch with Kabuto checking over his forehead. Akushi-chan, it's just a head wound, it's nothing to be worried about, I'm a quick healer, and plus I wanted them to get arrogant and to ensure they knew just who they were fucking with, and now they do, he said, getting hit in the back of the head by Kabuto. You should just be lucky this was nothing serious, and that head wounds just bleed a lot, Naruto-kun, she said, getting a chuckle from Naruto. I understand, Kabuto-chan, I'll try to be more careful from here on, he said, getting a nod as she finished wiping the blood from his face before kissing his cheek. Good boy, she said, getting a chuckle from him and the others as Naruto stretched as he popped his neck before turning to the former Hyuga and the sole Uchiha heiress. So Sayuki-chan, how have you come with the Manjikim? He asked, getting a groan from the Uchiha. It's a pain, and even though I already read this, but I think I may be going blind. I didn't think that in the chamber. Well, training would affect my Sharingan as well, she said, getting a nod from the three Uzumaki and a Uchiha mixed breed's nod. Yeah, to reach the next level you have to transplant them for side branch members like the Manjikam. Soon you'll unlock the eternal Manjikam. Sharingan will be in reach, so give it some time, and you'll have the highest level. Of course my father had acquired the Rinnegan due to infusing Hashirama's blood or his cells into him, Kushina said, getting an interested look from the Uchiha. So you're saying I could do the same thing? She said, getting a shrug from the others. Only my father. I have done it after I joined Kusahime, while Naruto and Taiya acquired theirs through a mutation in genetics, so your guess is as good as mine if it will work for you, Kushina explained before Sayuki covered her eyes in pain. I think we may have to do the transplant sooner than later, since there's only a few weeks left before the finals, and Sayuki needs a week to adjust to her eyes. The sooner in this week we get you to go blind, the sooner we can perform the transplant, Kabuto said as she removed Sayuki's hands from her eyes to look and notice the lack of light in them. Well, come on Gaki, we got to continue training and get those eyes worn out, Taiya said as she dragged her cousin into the chamber along with the others. What are you going to do, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, seeing him leaning back on the couch. I'm just going to stay out here. I wanted to see if there was anything I could learn in Dad's notes, he said, getting a nod from the others as they walked to the training ground chamber. Getting up from the couch, he walked up the stairs to the study his father had and said, let's have a bonding moment, Dad, and see what you can teach me. Walking in, he found a seal that was on the side of a bookcase filled with elemental jutsu, jinjutsu, fuinjutsu and taijutsu, as well as kinjutsu. Well, hello, what's this? He said, pressing his chakra through the seal, making it rumble before sliding along the wall to reveal a large hollowed-out space that was as large as a large museum. Damn, Dad, just what did you have in here that you didn't want anyone but family to touch? He said, seeing a large amount of techniques from ninjutsu to bloodlines before reaching a table and saw it had a too thick notebook. What are you? He said when he opened the cover that said the new Flying Thunder God. The study of chakra manipulation and creation with the use of yin-yang chakra. When chakra is used in any forms, it uses both yin and yang, the same natures that the sage of six paths used to create the nine-tailed beasts. With this, the basis of the Hyration became a possibility like my father did and I have with the seal. But what if I could advance it and perform the Hyration without seals or kunai, and with the benefit of being able to go anywhere I desire with just a thought of the place? Dear Ed. The Hyration without kunai or a marker. It sounds like the Kamui, but without the pocket dimension involved, he muttered to himself before creating an army of clones to read the scrolls. But the Hyration, the user for a split second bends the space around the user until you and another point overlap and tears a space and time to jump through it, allowing you to teleport to where the marker was placed or to who the marker was placed on. Without the marker, the user is essentially blind as they are flying through the gap without destination, as many of my clones have experienced, he continued to read. Fuck, Dad, if you could have pulled this off nobody could mess with you, he said before putting the book down and turned to the other notebook that read chakra materialization. Chakra materialization, just how many ideas did you have, Dad, he said as he looked at the contents filled with sticky notes and stapled pieces of paper attached to the other filled with theories. This is an idea I got from when I saw Kushina enter what she calls a tailed beast cloak form, where not only the user gains more traits of the creature they hold, but a solidified mass of chakra from the tailed beast forms out and around the body, acting as a shield. When she was in that state, her strength multiplied as did her speed, reflexes and other abilities. Theorizing this with her, I thought, what if normal chakra could do the same, or if you could make actual objects out of chakra like weapons? I admit even I believe this is far-fetched, but many people believed it was impossible to use elemental affinities or for me to use the Hyration, but here I am, here Ed, getting a chuckle from Naruto. What are you laughing about, Sachi? Kushina said, walking into the hidden room, making him look up as he showed her the books. I was reading these two notebooks. I think he was coming up with two ideas that even I would imagine to be crazy. Listen to this: manipulation of chakra to take physical form, and the use of the Hyration without seals or kunai. Any sane man would say it's the ramblings of a man who's lost it, but I believe it just might be possible. Difficult as all hell and tedious, but possible, he said, getting a chuckle from Kushina. Yeah, that's Minato-kun for you, but if there's anything that man was capable of doing, it was the impossible. I mean, look at him. People thought that a parentless kid with zero connections, unaware of his own heritage, would never become Kage, and yet some years later he made it a reality. He was like a brother to me, seeing as I never had any romantic interests, but we both wanted children, so we agreed to do it, and that resulted in the both of you, she said, rubbing his head, making him smile. "Do you think Dad would be proud of us, Taiya and I?" he asked, getting a nod from Kushina. "I have no doubt that he's as proud of you two as I am. Granted, you two have your own quirks much like Minato and I, but that's what made us such a great team as kids like you." He was a thinker and a person who acted with calm precision and effective skill, while like me, Taiya was a ruthless bitch with a loud mouth, whose tongue is as sharp as her mind. "You two got the best of both of us, and I know if he were alive now he'd say the same thing," she said, making him smile as she kissed him. "Now come on, we're still going to be in this village for a while, so these things aren't going anywhere, and I'm going to need some of your genetics to give Sayuki for her transplant," she said, getting a nod from the teenager as the two walked out of the office before it slid closed. Namika's house. "Finally, I didn't think it was possible for my body to feel that sore," Hinata groaned as she and the others walked out the special training ground, wearing the shredded remains of her clothes with her clothes barely covering her modesty, which thanks to the training she had developed further standing at a high DD cup, with a leaner waist with wider hips and a firm round ass. "I know, but I feel even stronger than I ever have before. My coils are larger and denser, I'm stronger, faster, even my Sharingan is stronger," Sayuki said, wearing the shredded remains of her clothes as well, holding a black sheath and a guardless Chikudo with the Uchiha fan on the hilt, as she also developed curves similar to Hinata's. "I have to give it to you and Pale Eyes, at first I thought the two of you were just like the rest of this tree-loving village without any skill, but you proved me wrong," Taiya said, getting a nod from Karen and Kin, who agreed with her. "You should be proud of yourselves, you've gotten stronger beyond what anyone in the village could have thought, and in 4 days is the finals," Naruto said when he paused. "You don't think you're just going to up and leave us behind, do you?" They heard as they saw Am, Kurenai, Hana, Anko and Yugao sitting on the couch with Kusahime and Kagura drinking a cup of tea. Quickly bowing to Kusahime, she chuckled, saying, "Now is that any way to greet someone? For the past couple of weeks since I set foot in Konoha, I've had to deal with sensei trying to either strong-arm me into handing you all over to him or make alliances ending with his benefit, and I don't even get a hug from my favorite students in Genin." Hugging her, she chuckled before sitting back down as Naruto said, "Do any of you want something to eat?" They nodded as he made his way to the kitchen when Yugao, Am and Anko hugged Kushina as Am said, "Missed you, sensei." "Missed you too, and thanks for looking out for Naruto, all of you," she said, hugging her old students before Anko hugged her surrogate mother. "Hey Anko-chan, long time no see," she said, hugging her surrogate daughter, tighter, getting a muffled response as she had her face buried in Kusahime's large cleavage, feeling tears fall onto her bosom. Now I taught you better, now no tears, show me that determined girl Naruto-kun told me you always were," she said, making Anko pull back as she wiped her eyes as she had a look of determination on her face. "That's my girl," she said with a smile, which Anko returned when Naruto came back with food before being on the receiving end of the slap to the face from Am, Hana, Kurenai and Yugao, leaving a large red handprint on his left cheek. "Had that coming, you used more power in your hits than Sayuki and Hinata did when I confronted them," he said with a calm demeanor. "Be happy we still love you, Naruto-kun, otherwise your bits wouldn't be of use," Hana said with a deep growl, making Naruto chuckle awkwardly as he backed away, slowly covering his manhood, sweating in fear. "She's right, Naruto-kun, especially when we met you first before the exam started," Am said as she pulled out a katana from nowhere along with Yugao, while Kurenai glared holding a kunai. "Why yes, ma'am," he said, saluting, getting a laugh from the others while he shot his family and team a glare. "It ain't funny," Naruto growled as Taiya slapped his back roughly. "Oh yes it is, shithead-kun. Oh man, and here I thought we had you whipped," she said, howling with laughter while his eye twitched. "Yuck it up, flute princess, we'll see how long you all will be laughing when I stop making your favorite treats when your supply is low," Naruto said, making his group stop laughing as they stared at him in fear. "And now Naruto-kun, don't be too hasty, it was all in good humor," Kushina said, not wanting to lose her ramen along with the others and their treats. Thinking, he shook his head, saying, "Nope, the Kyuubi's will is law, the Nidaime Kyuubi has spoken." Please Foxy. "It was all in good humor, come on, you gotta laugh at that," his sister said, getting a snort from him. "That may be true, but I still stand by what I said. If you want me to revoke it, you'll have to offer me something that would be good enough to make me revoke my rule," he said, getting a grin from the others. Naruto-kun, what all have you done outside of the village?" Kurenai asked, getting a grin from Naruto. "Well, I trained with Kushina-chan, Kusahime-chan and the others, making me a powerful ninja who reached S rank at the age of 9. I've been offered the position of Nidaime Otakage when I reach a status of Jounin rank, and along with my team, have performed many diplomatic missions for the betterment of Odo," he said, getting wide eyes from the group while Kusahime, Kabuto and Kagura nodded. "That's right, Naruto-kun here was perfectly trained and taught to bring out the best of his abilities. We've taught him how to perfectly utilize his massive reserves and bring his body to peak physical condition, just like we have with his mind with his large IQ. She said, kissing him on the lips, making him blush lightly at the random display of affection. Oh Naruto-kun, this is important for you all to know with the finals. Saratobi-san altered the finals slightly to try and benefit the village, Yugao said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. What did he do about the finals? Hinata asked, curious, as Yugao rubbed her head. Due to the number of Leaf Ninja, he's trying to fix the fights to make the Leaf Village still seem stronger. Nobody knows what he's done, but it's something big, especially with Jiraiya being in the stadium recently, she answered, drawing a raised eyebrow from the group. I may not be a seal mistress like you, sensei, but I did notice a large number of seals spread around the stadium, she answered, getting narrowed eyes from the Oto group. Do you know some of the seals that were there? What they do? Kabuto asked, getting a so-so motion. There were so many seals I couldn't identify them all, but I did count some chakra siphoning seals, paralysis seals, chakra blocking seals and resistant seals. I can only assume they'd use them on you all during your fights, Yugao said, getting a TSK from AM. That's the likely assumption, especially if the seals are remote activated or tuned to a certain individual, then they can activate them whenever they want, and nobody would be the wiser, she said, getting narrowed eyes at that knowledge. Well then, I guess it's a good thing that there are currently a whole room full of Hyuninjutsu experts and a few days between now and the final. If we're going to do anything about those seals, we'll have to be cautious while doing this, otherwise they might try something even more drastic, Kushina said, getting a nod from the others. Although this may have something to do with the fact that Konoha is now no longer considered one of the 5 great ninja villages and just a minor village, they're bound to be desperate, Kusahime said, chuckling at the fact Naruto played the Leaf Village's council like a fiddle and brought them down to near unstable levels. For now, Hinata, Sayuki, you two might want to dress in something that doesn't look like it's going to fall off with a single soft breeze, Karen said, as Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose. Please do. Not that the image is unaccepted, believe I love it, but it's difficult to hold a conversation when 2 women are wearing something that can't even be considered scraps of fabric, Naruto said, getting a chuckle from the two as they made their way upstairs to change. So Naruto-kun, when will we leave the village? AM asked, drawing a raised eyebrow, letting her elaborate. After Anko told us we all conversed on if we should stay in Konoha or not, and we agreed to leave with you when you do. Tucson and I already have the raiment stand packed up, AM said as Yugao leaned forward. Anko and I have been staying at my place after she was evicted, and we've packed everything the moment we made it back to my apartment, she said, getting a nod from Anko. I haven't been on the best terms with my mom ever since she knew you and I were on good terms. I've packed everything of importance and copied clan scrolls to use, and my partners are ready to go, she said when her partners sitting on the side of the couch with her barked. Well, we can leave directly after the finals if nothing that doesn't hold us up, Kushina said, knowing that things aren't going to be easy. I've experienced that things are never going to be simple, Naruto answered as he scratched his head. True, although it could be that you're just a trouble magnet, Naruto-kun, Kagura said with a small smile, getting a grunt from Naruto, while the others laughed. You're hilarious, Kagura-chan, a real card. Maybe I should withdraw my massage cards too. Naruto said, making her and the others freeze up as he grinned. Damn, why does Naruto-kun have to be so good at everything that we love? The girls thought as Naruto grinned at the look of dread on their faces. Now that we're all done laughing at my expense, how about you all stay for a while, seeing as the exams are only a few days away, Naruto suggested, getting a series of nods. I'll have rooms set up for all of you for now, how about we just relax? Naruto said, getting a series of nods from the others. Time skipped to the day of the finals. The day many important figures have come out of their way to watch the village's elite compete, so I expect you all to give them a hell of a show, the proctor said, watching the genin, having been informed of the seals that their village's sealmaster set up around the arena. Due to there being an odd number of competitors, Subaku no Gaara have been given the bye until the winner of the 5th round is made. Bask in the glow, kids, because you're in the big leagues, he said as the arena was filled with cheers and applause. Kage booth. I must say there is quite the turnout, he said, looking to his fellow Kage, who nodded in agreement while his brother Killer Bee and Yujito stared at Naruto. I must agree, although I am a little disappointed none of our genin made it past the forest of death. It seems Oto has quite the powerful group of genin, Inoki said, with his 2 guards staring at him as well. Well, what can I say, Naruto-kun has trained his entire life to be as strong as he is both physically and mentally, Kusahime said with a chuckle. I have never seen a ninja work that hard. Well, him, his sister, cousin and mom along with Kin-chan, those 4 are a hell of a team. Back when he was a child he was tearing through jutsu, jinjutsu, kinjutsu and taijutsu scrolls like a madman, and he completely understood them, she said, turning her attention to the Hokage. You really let a couple of rare jewels slip from your grasp after your Jounin told Kushina-chan Naruto-kun died taking his sister with her and then allowed your ninja to beat him. If you hadn't you might have had a group capable of fighting a village on their own. But oh well, she said as her golden yellow eyes glistened with mirth. Now Kusahime, there's no need to be hostile, they heard as they saw the toad sage Jiraiya walk towards Hiruzen. Hello Jiraiya, it's great to see you again. Lie to a woman about their child's death lately. Kushina growled, taking off her mask. Ah Kushina-chan, it's great to see you. How have you, he said before getting punched in the throat, making him collapse to the ground gasping for breath. You bastard, I should fucking kill you. You and Kakashi lied to me about Naruto's death, and I found out when Kusahime and I were in Fire Country to see these leaf fuckers trying to kill my son. Minato and I trusted you to be his guardian, and I learn you, Haddock, and the rest of this pathetic village tried to kill my son on several occasions. If you were worth the effort your blood would be dripping off my blade this instant, but like the miserable old fool behind you and Haddock, you're just not worth the time or the effort, Kushina growled as her killer intent rose beyond human limits until Kusahime and Kagura placed a hand on her shoulder making her calm down. As much fun as it would be to see you kill the toad Kushina-chan, but right now it's more important to watch as Naruto-kun and his team wins these exams and puts Oto even further on the map than we are, Kusahime said, getting a reluctant nod as she stood on the other side of her cage. That is the strength of an angered S-class kunoichi, and a mother. Take note, be pissing a trained kunoichi off who is also a mother is a danger you don't want to willingly step into, Ace said, while looking towards the women in their group who had a bloodthirsty grin on their faces, making his brother gulp. I understand, he said, fearfully, getting a chuckle from the girls. Enough of the comedy routine, shouldn't we be watching the fights? Inoki asked, getting a nod from the Kazekage. I agree, as amusing as it is to watch someone get what they deserve, we have over 1,000 important figures waiting for us to start the match, and I doubt they don't want to sit here while we're up here wasting their time, he said, getting a round of agreement from the others. I agree, how about we get started with the finals? I'm quite interested in seeing the strength of Kusahime Shinobi are capable of, Mei said, getting a nod from Hiruzen, who told the proctor to start with the first match. On the arena floor. Alright, the first round of the finals will now begin between Taiya Uzumaki Ichihanamikaze Senju of Odo and Niji Hyuga of Konoha. If your name hasn't been called, please go to the competitors box to wait for your opponent, he said as Naruto and the rest of Taiya's team patted her on the back while she grinned. Niji, staring at his opponent, noticed she was wearing a style of attire similar to Naruto's during the preliminary round, with a black tube top on covering her DD cup breast, while the kimono top was a blood red color with tight Anbu-styled pants. Come on, you blind fuck, get your head out of the gutter and get serious. Taiya growled, knowing he was checking her out, making him scoff. You may be a child of the Yondaime, but even you are fated to lose against a Hyuga, he said, getting into a stance. And here I thought the Leaf Ninja Naruto-kun and my team fought against were arrogant. Alright shithead, let's see if you can still talk when I leave you breathing through a tube, she said as her eyes flashed to a 6-bladed curved shuriken with a curved tri-bladed shuriken inside it as she drew her flute. Begin. The proctor exclaimed before jumping out of the way when Taiya appeared in front of Niji, delivering a kick to his stomach, launching him towards a wall, causing a crater to form in the wall, with large cracks spreading outward. I've heard of the Hyuga's taijutsu. It helps when you have a mom whose best friend was a Hyuga and taught her the techniques and abilities of someone's clan. I know of your clan style from techniques to taijutsu. Nothing you know will surprise me, she said, watching Niji pull himself from the wall. That may be true, but some woman will never stand up to the might of the Hyuga clan, for we are the strongest there ever was, he said, charging forward, getting a snort from Taiya, dodging every attempt at an attack he made. Great, are you? Like Naruto-kun, you're but a child compared to me, and as such do you think I would even consider taking you seriously? You're just the warm-up for when I get a serious competition, that's all you're good for, she said, flipping backward, knocking her foot into his chin, knocking him into the air before kicking him into the stomach, tossing him to the wall again. Let me show you why that is, she said, focusing chakra through her flute before it started to spark at the end, before a long blade made of white lightning and wind was created going to the length of a katana. Kage booth. You know Kushina-san, I remember the Uzumaki being notorious for their use of chakra chains, Fuinjutsu their mastery in water, wind and lighting jutsu with their skills in Kinjutsu, being feared through the elemental nations. Why is she using her flute for a weapon when she has a sword on her hip? Asked, making Kushina regard the Reikage with a sideward glance. It's as she said, she doesn't view Niji as a serious threat. To her he's about as powerful as a civilian child on the playground, so she doesn't see the reason to dirty her sword with her opponent's blood. You're also correct on your assessment of the Uzumaki clan's power in those fields. I've taught them everything since they were children and I couldn't be any prouder. Well, maybe if I was given some grandbabies to spoil, she said with a chuckle. Well, you Uzumakis just continue to further impress me every time I see you, Inoki said to the Otakage, who grinned. Why thank you, she said, turning back to the match. Arena floor. Come on punk ass, get up, I don't have all fucking day here. She said, tapping her foot on the ground before sighing. Fine, I gotta do all the fucking work too, huh? She said when gold spearheaded chains burst from the ground around Niji when he pushed himself off the ground, dodging them before he felt something wrap around his leg, making him look down to see another chain wrapped around it. Now let's play a game, she said as the chain spun around before slamming him into the floor hard several times. I was thinking you'd give me a challenge, but you didn't even do that. I guess the Hyuga clan isn't as great as your village thinks if you can't do that much, she said, yawning as she scratched her head as she turned to walk away. Growling from the constant insults, he got up and charged her with his palm outstretched before his hand went through her as she faded from view. Again, Hyuga, you'll have to do a fuck of a lot better than that if you want to win, and by the looks of things you really don't have much of a chance. If this is what a prodigy looks like, then I might honestly fear for the well-being of your clan, she said, looking at the Hyuga, who had several cuts on his body that were bleeding seriously with several other shallow cuts all across his body. Face it, against an Uzumaki you were fated for failure, she said, vanishing and reappearing behind him as Niji fell face first. Winner of the first round of the Chunin exam finals is Taiya Uzumaki Ichihanamika's Senju. The proctor yelled while a team of medics came to the field collecting the down Hyuga. Combatants booth. Way to go, Taiya, you kicked his ass pretty good, Karen said, getting a snort from Taiya. You say it as if you expected any less, Karen, and quite frankly I'm pretty fucking hurt here, she said with a fake whimper. Ah, come on cousin, you know I'm just fucking with you, relax, Karen said with an arm around her cousin's shoulder. Hey, it seems the next match is about to start, Hinata said, drawing everyone's attention to the field. Thanks to the voice amplifier seals around the stadium, everyone heard him say, "Will Kintsuchi and Shinobi Aburam please come down?" As their names were called, the two made their way down, while Hinata was conflicted on either cheering for her new friend Kin or her teammate, so she decided to remain neutral in it all. Arena floor. As Kin stood on the arena floor, she brandished several senbon with an attachment on each of them were a bell and seals delicately engraved on both the bell and the senbon. Begin. The proctor said just in time as Kin started to toss several senbon around the stadium floor. When Shino extended his arms, his Kakechu flew from his sleeves in a large swarm when Kin smirked. I may not be as powerful as Taiya or Naruto, but I am rather resourceful when in a pinch, let me show you. She said as her chakra flared when the bells started to jingle at a slow pace before the sound waves started to increase while Kin avoided the swarm. Come on, if I can hit the right ultrasound frequency, it will work, she thought, replacing herself with a clone. Page booth. Ugh, what's with the ringing, it's killing my hearing. It doesn't help that every dog here is howling to it, Inoki said, covering his ears while Kusahime smirked. Kin is one of the few ninja in my village capable of utilizing sound to disorientate, incapacitate or even kill her opponent if need be. What she's trying to do is find the proper frequency to kill the Kakechu or make them go crazy, making the Aburam's techniques become pointless, seeing as the Aburam clan has no aptitude for Taijutsu or any other jutsu for that matter, Kusahime said, watching as several medium-sized clumps of bugs started to fall in heaps. It seems it's finally taking effect, Kagura said as Kushina nodded, watching as slowly more and more Kakechu fell. Arena floor. Took a bit of doing, but it's finally working. Those bugs of yours actually drained a bit of my chakra in the process, she said, wiping her forehead free of sweat. It would appear so, but I can't just let you win so easily, Shino said as he extended his arms again, making a larger swarm come out. Flying high above her, the insects started to fly around her as they formed a large tornado around her, spinning faster. Seeing this, Shino said, "It's as I said, I can't just let you win so easily." Focusing his chakra, he said, "Kakechu. Sumuji, parasitic destruction insects. Whirl." As the insects began to close around her near the base of the large tornado, she focused her lightning chakra through the senbon around her as a large cage of lightning chakra spread formed high above them as the cage shot out bolts of lightning, zapping the bugs quickly. It was fun fighting you, Shino-san. It's good to see some leaf ninja have skill, especially if you're outgunned, but I have to end it here, she said, forming several hand signs. Rain. Shimtatsu Kaminari, lightning style. Clashing thunder, she exclaimed as the cage of lightning condensed, creating two large spheres of lightning that collided, creating a flash followed by an explosion. Competitor's box. He's cutting it rather close with that one, huh? Karen muttered, drawing a confused expression from Sayuki and Hinata. What do you mean? Hinata asked, getting a sigh from Karen. It's a modified version of Naruto-kun's Raiten Jutsu, that causing a massive bolt of lightning to crash down with a barrage of lightning bolts to rain down from the heavens. This is a modified version that causing two colliding bolts to clash and explode in a rain of lightning. She never mastered it till now, Karen answered, getting a nod from the others as the light down to see Shino covered with his bugs that fell off while he sparked with electricity when Kin came from the ground. Arena floor. That was rather chakra taxing, but no skin off my nose with my reserves, thanks to all that electricity you won't be moving for a while, Shino-senshi said, looking Shino in the eye with him still standing paralyzed. Proctor-sen, I would like to forfeit on the count of me being incapable of moving, Shino said, getting a nod from the proctor who came down from the cage booth. Winner Kintsuchi of Odo. He said as the medics came for Shino when the Odo Kunoichi heard the cheers of her team, Sensei and Kage. Alright, let's carry on with the next round. Hinata of Konoha and Sai Shimura, get down here, he said as Hinata jumped down, while Sai reappeared in a whirlpool of ink. Cage booth. Hinata, from the coloration of her eyes she would be part of the Hyuga clan, wouldn't she? Mei asked, staring at the former Hyuga heiress who wore a pair of tight spandex pants and a black leotard, showing off her hips with a short-cut lavender jacket with a hood. Yes, she was, until her father and the council ordered for her exile when she was 6. Since then she was living with Sayuki Uchiha, the heiress of the Uchiha clan, although she has shown a high level of skill for her former clan's techniques, Hiruzen answered, drawing a grunt from A. Then the mentality of the Hyuga clan head must be questionable if she's as good as you say, Hiruzen, but we'll see how good she is during this match, he said, getting a series of nods from the other cage. Arena floor. Good luck, Hinata-sensei said with a false smile, getting a blank expression back as the proctor started the match. I'll just end this quickly, she said coolly, getting into a loose version of the Jaiken Taijutsu before gaining light blue bolts of electricity discharging from her hands before it stopped. Quickly grabbing a scroll from his pouch, he pulled out an ink brush and quickly drew several creatures as they came to life and launched themselves at her. Striking each one, she charged forward, sliding under several before hitting his Tenketsu with several quick blows in his legs and torso. Jumping back, grabbing his tanto, he went for a overhead slash which Hinata deflected, slapping away his hands before dropping to the ground, attempting to sweep her feet from under her. Seeing this, she activated her taijutsu before jumping and delivering an axe kick to his head, which he dodged at the last second. When her foot met the ground, she caused a crater to form. But the cage. Oh my, that reminds me of Tsunade-chan's super strength. Seeing as Naruto-kun is a senju, he might have found some scrolls on her technique and taught it to Hinata, Kusahime said with a giggle, remembering when Naruto and the others told her about what they did for Hinata and Sayuki's training. And I must say the Hyugas must be furious to know they threw out such a gem, Inoki said, chuckling, imagining the look of the high and mighty clan. But the Hyuga. Hiashi. One of the elders said as they watched Hinata slam her foot into the ground, causing the arena floor to crack and destroy the landscape. What? He said, staring at his former daughter. How does that outcast know Tsunade's super strength, let alone have a mastery of the gentle fist when she was a failure in the past? One of the other elders said. I don't know, but my suspicions would lead me to believe it has something to do with our village's former Jinchuriki, Hiashi said with distaste, as did the other Hyuga. What does that demon have to do with anything? Said the only female elder in the group. It would seem that he's one of Odo's strongest and most powerful genin and has already been declared a candidate for the cage position in Odo. When the Sandaime called for him, he effectively destroyed Konoha's position as one of the 5 most powerful villages and reduced us to a minor village, taking away a large portion of our funding, with the approval of the daimyo, he said, getting gasps from the others. There's more. It would appear that he's also the eldest son of my old friend Minato, the 4th Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki. By the end of the week, the whirlpool symbol that was placed in the Leaf Village's symbol is to be removed, along with everything to do with Uzushio, since we've betrayed them several times with the assault on the prince of the country, and there's nothing we can do about it, he said, getting growls from the others. But that doesn't explain how the failure is winning the fight. The elderly woman exclaimed, getting a sigh. It seems Minato was the son of Tobirama Senju like Kushina was the daughter of Madara Uchiha, making that Taiya girl and Naruto the blood of the Senju and the Uchiha, alongside them being the prince and princess of a country. It's my guess that he taught her how to use Tsunade Sama's super strength, he guessed watching Hinata dance around the ink creations. Then there is still a use for the failure, one of the elders said, drawing a curious glance from Hiashi and the other elders. How so? The clan head said. Simple, we make her an offer she couldn't refuse by welcoming her into the clan again as heiress, and she uses her control over the demon to help our prestige, the only woman in the group said. We'll confront her after the finals, Hiashi agreed as they went back to the fight. All the while listening to her father plot for the manipulation of her sister was the new heiress watching her sister fight as she thought Ni-chan. Arena floor. I'm just going to end this now, she said, getting into a stance as her fists were covered in a blue fire. Kosumshiken, gentle step twin lion fist, she said calmly, charging forward as Sai tried to dodge the first strike, only to receive a kick to the stomach, followed by several hard blows that sent him lying to the ground before she finished the fight with a punch to the stomach, again creating a large crater with Sai in the center. Allowing the fire on her hands to dissipate, she said, he won't be able to continue, call the match. Winner of the third round, Hinata. The proctor said, getting a round of cheers from the Odo group as she walked up to the contestants' booth. Contestants' booth. Great job, Hinata, although I bet you've attracted the attention of your old family, Naruto said, getting a dismissive snort from Hinata. I could care less, the only member of my family I care about is my little sister Hanabi, she said, drawing a raised eyebrow from the others. You have a sister? Kin asked, getting a nod from the former Hyuga heiress. Yes, she was born when mom died, and father has been molding her to be like the rest of the clan. It's also why I was exiled, because I refused to fight her to the point of injury, she answered with a sneer at the idea of seriously harming her sister. As the group continued on with their conversation, Tamari tapped Karen on the shoulder, drawing their attention. It's our turn to fight, we've been called a couple times already, she said while constantly taking quick glances at Naruto. Seeing this, the others grinned while Karen said, well then how about we get started. Nodding, Tamari jumped down, flying down to the arena floor on her fan, while Karen pouted, adjusting her glasses. Show off, she said, waving goodbye to her team before running down to join her opponent. Arena floor. As the proctor started the match, Karen jumped back as Tamari swung her fan open, dodging a bullet of wind that flew at her. Aw, come on, why is it that every person I know has a wind affinity? I mean, come on. Everyone on my team has a wind affinity, but I suppose in Suna wind is a common element and Konoha is a rare one like Kusaham-sama, she said, pulling out a scroll, unsealing the item to show a pair of long twin swords that reached to her shoulder. Charging forward, she flipped her blades into a reverse grip as the left gained an additional length of wind and one with an additional length of lightning as they went beyond her shoulders, jumping over another wind bullet, going for an axe kick. Locking it with the side of her fan, Tamari said, you're going to have to do better than that, tomato head. Page booth. Oh dear, Kusahim, Kushina and Kagura said together, drawing everyone's attention. Oh dear, what? What's about to happen? The Kazuki asked, getting a sigh from Kushina. Back when I was a genin I was known for my temper, especially whenever my red hair was mentioned in the form of an insult. Uzumaki are proud for various things, our skills in Kenjutsu, our Fuinjutsu, our ninjutsu and our red hair. Insult these things, and not even a tailed beast could match us. Your daughter is about to learn that now, Kushina said as she watched Tamari be put on the defensive as she was dodging blades of wind and lightning before receiving a blow to the stomach, launching her back. Stabbing the blades into the ground, she formed several hand signs as several dragons made of water shot out of nowhere towards Tamari, who jumped to the wall and over, only to get sent to the floor. Now I remember why Yuzashio was feared and why Musama sent us to attack Yuzashio. That temper is dangerous, Inoki said as the other Kage agreed with him before they winced when they saw Karen deliver a kick to her jaw, knocking her unconscious. Maybe this will teach Tamari that insulting a person who you don't know isn't the best choice, her father said as the last match of the first round was called as Naruto came down, standing in front of Sayuki, who wore a long dark blue kimono under a slightly shorter black kimono with the Uchiha symbol on it, with both having a slit along the side, showing off her leg with a cloth that reached under her breast, with a wide obi coming under her breasts while the kimono hung almost off her shoulders, showing her cleavage. Her hair was kept long while it came over her left eye in a low ponytail with her chikudo on her hip. Arena floor. Standing in front of her, Naruto had a black katana and a black sheath with a white dragon along the side. The guard had a jagged manji with the hilt being black with a red diamond pattern and a long chain at the pommel. Both of them had their eyes closed as the two formed a hand sign when the proctor said, "The final fight of the first round will now commence between Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Namikaze Senju and Sayuki Uchiha." "Hajime," he said, jumping back and out of the arena when the two charged each other, fist raised as they opened their eyes to show two sets of fully matured Sharingan eyes. When their fists connected, the two pushed each other back with a shock wave. Play Tales of Xillia soundtrack, clenching fists. Forming the same hand signs, the two exclaimed Kaiten. Karakenden, fire style. Fire dragon, flame bullet. Spewing from their mouths were three large dragons that clashed, creating an explosion, while the two charged forward in the inferno, drawing their blades, with Naruto's being slightly longer than the sheath, with a serrated edge on the blade's side. Clashing their blades, the two collided in a shower of sparks, with their Dijutsu active as they saw everything in slow motion. Clashing a second time, the two jumped back as Naruto said Suiton. Hahonrik, water style. Tearing torrent. Creating a spiraling ball of water in his hand, he slammed it into the ground as it created a massive tidal wave, charging toward Sayuki. Seeing this, her eye twitched as she thought, "Oh fuck you and your unnaturally high water affinity, Naruto-kun." Creating a shadow clone, she said Kaiten. Zikoku, fire style. Intelligent hard work. As she blew a small ball of fire, it expanded rapidly while the clone performed the next hand sign, Futen. Kami Arashi, wind style. Godly wind from the mountains. As the clone exhaled a large tornado, the stream of fire expanded, matching the torrent of water for size, creating a huge mist covering the arena. As the two charged forward in the mist, the only thing that could be seen were flashes of sparks showing the two dancing around the other. "Not bad, Sayuki-chan, but I think we've spent enough time warming up," Naruto said as his Dijutsu changed to a red curved six-bladed shuriken on top of a black background. "I believe so, Naruto-kun," she said as her Dijutsu morphed to its Mangekyou state as the two vanished from sight. Meeting in the middle of the arena floor, the two blades clashed, creating a shockwave as the pressure dispersed the fog before they vanished again and reappeared around the floor, creating shockwaves with craters forming around them where they met. Page Booth. "Now this is a fight Naruto-kun hasn't had many opponents who have tested his skill in Kenjutsu outside Odo, and he's a Kage-level Kenjutsu user, so for him to have this much of a challenge is refreshing to him," Kusahime said, smiling as she watched the two dance around each other, creating shallow cuts on the two. "But how is the boy in Uchiha? Minato wasn't one, and I doubt you're one too," Kushina-sensei said, casting a side glance to the Redeed, whose eyes flashed to a sakura blossom with a whirlpool in the middle. "Actually, my father was in Uchiha just like Minato-kun's father was Tobirama-sama. My father was the same man that Hashirama-sama fought against, only for him to survive, this man being Madara Uchiha. He trained me in the use of my Dijutsu for a while before he passed. I have his eyes transplanted into my own after I exhausted mine. Then I was brought to Konoha by technicality as my father wasn't stricken from the clan records. I'm by right the true clan head of the Uchiha clan, just as I am the head of the Uzumaki clan," she said with a grin as a look of shock passed Hiruzen and Jireya's face. "Even so, Kushina-san, for your son, a Kenjutsu master, to be fought on such a scale is nothing short of amazement. How is that so?" Mei asked, getting a chuckle from the Odo group as they saw the two were in a furious deadlock. "Naruto-kun, Hinata-chan and Sayuki-chan go back until he was chased out of the village at the age of 3. When the preliminaries were over, he insisted on training them to bring out their full potential, something as we can plainly see was reached as he helped them create new techniques for the two," Kushina answered. "Helping the enemy? That's rather odd if you think of it," Inoki said, getting a negative from the Odakage. "The you it is, but the Naruto-kun, it's just him helping a couple of friends and showing care for his fellow clansmen," she answered as the two separated. "Then this is going to be really interesting," Yu said, sitting at the edge of his seat. Arena floor. Separating, Sayuki sighed as she was left panting, regaining her breathing, thinking, "Damn, even with all the training Naruto and the others put me and Hinata through, I'm at the disadvantage in terms of stamina against an Uzumaki. I'm not going to last much longer." Practically reading her thoughts, Naruto said, "How about we finish this fight, Sayuki?" Agreeing with him, she readied her sword like Naruto did before dashing forward. Uchiha Kenjutsu Ryu. Karasu no Jyakusatsu, Uchiha Kenjutsu technique. Raven slaughter. Charging forward, she created several after images that followed her while Naruto grinned. Titan Mitsurugi Ryu. Ryusasan, flying heaven govern sword style. Dragon nest flash, he said as he swung his sword when the group of Uchiha came towards him before Sayuki appeared behind him when everything came to a halt. Everything went still as Naruto had a large gush of blood to burst from a cut on his chest, while Sayuki had several similar injuries as she fell to the ground unconscious, leaving Naruto the winner of the match. End music. The end.